626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Very good morning to you. It's 6 o'clock on Sunday, the 16th of January. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Dan.
And we're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio. Whether you're watching us in Plymouth, whether you're listening to us in Cardigan Bay in Wales, maybe you're watching us on YouTube in Ballycastle in Northern Ireland. Wherever you are, you can take us with you.
Yeah, if you're in Ballycastle, really do get in touch.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you.
Some of you may be catching up via the GB News app as well while travelling to work, and you may be a Brit abroad, you lucky thing, soaking up the sunshine. We're here for you as well. So coming up this morning on Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Is Boris out to save his own skin? Suggestions the Prime Minister is planning a mass clear-out of Number 10 staff. But with Labour now having a 10-point lead over the Conservatives, can we expect a new raft of policies aimed to win over the voters? We've got reporters around the country this morning finding out what the people of Britain really think of the embattled Prime Minister.
The Duke of Sussex has applied for a judicial review of a Home Office decision not to allow him to personally pay for police protection for himself and his family when they're in the UK.
And if what's going on Earth isn't enough for you, we explore everything space-related as we speak to the first ever mother in space, Anna Lee Fisher, live from Houston.
Cannot wait for that. And if you want to join in any of our discussions this morning, drop us an email, gbviews@gbnews.uk, or you can tweet us at GBNews. I am looking forward to our space chat this
We
morning.
do love a bit of space, don't we?
We're a pair of geeks.
Yeah,
us
we
two.
really are. But it's great fun talking to somebody who's literally been up there and looked down on Earth. And
Must be the most incredible thing.
if you had 200 grand or 500 grand or whatever it's costing now to go up with Jeff Bezos or whatever, would you
Yes.
do it?
Yeah.
I think I would, even at my grand old age. I'd train for it.
You'd be fine.
Well, if Captain Kirk can go up,
Yeah.
then I could, couldn't I? But sadly, I do not have that sort of money.
No, it's very,
But if I won the
very
lottery tomorrow,
expensive.
I would. It would be first on my list.
Oh, yeah, it would be an amazing thing to do. Would you do it? Get in touch, let us know. Also, to throw this out there, can we talk about food waste today?
Yeah.
Because I was putting the dinner together last night, and I had loads of stuff in the fridge that was past its either best before or used by date, veg and things. And it was fine. So I used it anyway. So should we stick to those dates or not?
I think it's a generation thing. I think younger people, the younger you are, the more of a snowflake you are about sell-by dates and use-by dates. And the older you are, the more you're inclined to use your nose.
Yeah, which I did with the milk this morning.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think we throw an awful lot of perfectly good stuff away because it has the use-by date on it. And who does that profit?
Yeah.
Yeah, the manufacturer.
Well.
Always.
So let us know what you do.
Do you sniff or do you look at the date?
Yeah. Scratch and sniff.
Yeah, exactly.
GBviews at gbnews.uk.
Now, there's some grim reading for the Prime Minister this morning as a new opinion poll puts Labour 10 points ahead of the Conservatives. This is up from 5 points from just a week ago.
Now, there are currently 6 Tory MPs now calling for Boris Johnson to quit. They're Roger Gale, Andrew Bridgen, Caroline Noakes, Will Wragg, Tim Lawton and Tobias Ellwood. They've given the PM an ultimatum, as well as Douglas Ross MP, who's also an MSP, the leader of the Scottish Conservatives.
Yeah, it's on every front page, as you can imagine, this morning. The Sunday Times suggests that the Prime Minister will attempt to save himself by having a clear-out of Downing Street staff and announce a series of what they say are populist measures. Now, that is likely to include a number 10 workplace booze ban to end the drinking culture in Downing Street.
A freeze on the BBC licence fee for 2 years to help with the cost of living.
It's not going to go down well with the BBC, but the paper suggests he's likely to hand the military control of the battle to stop illegal immigrants in the Channel.
And we could see the remaining coronavirus restrictions lifted on the 26th of January, although that would only be for England.
It's incredible, isn't it? Will it win you over? When we have big political stories like this, the media often go and get the opinions of people from mainland Britain. And when we say Britain, well, we thought it would be interesting to find out what the good people of Northern Ireland have to say. So we sent our reporter, Dougie Beattie, Newtownwards to find out.
No, I don't think so, to be honest with you. To me, it wasn't a party. What would you call a party?
And what about the difference between him and the Queen sitting?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, the Queen was very respectful sitting.
Yes, but them other people that had that party, to me, were the civil servants. Boris wasn't there. Did Boris know about it? I mean, you can't blame Boris for that.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
No, and better than that, the whole friggin' lot should stop talking about the party they had. That's a couple of months ago. Let's talk about the coronavirus. Let's talk about doing something for the public. What he was eating and drinking doesn't give a damn to anyways.
And how disrespectful do you think it was beside the Queen, the image of her and the night before they were having the party?
Sorry?
The night before Prince Philip was buried, they were having another party in Westminster.
I know, but Prince Philip was buried anyway, whether they were having a party or not. That's making issues about nothing, really. You know, Prince Philip's dead and gone, and the Queen, she'll miss him more than anybody. And she is one wonderful wee woman. I think she's the best wee woman in the world, and the only royal that's kept herself clean and perfect. She's an example to all of them, and what she is, the head of the Church of England, she has never let the church down. Perfection is what she is. I love her dearly.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
I think he's just made far too many mistakes and he's just making an idiot of himself, basically.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Because he's lied to the people. And he should do that. And other people's parents have died and had to go through that alone, and he's at a party. So, yeah, I think he should resign.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Because he's just not going anywhere at this stage. He just seems to be falling into one thing to the other.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Because he's told that many lies to the general public. If you can't trust the government, who can you trust? Our politicians are bad enough. You know? So, no, a no for me.
Boris Johnson, do you think he should resign?
He's a dead man walking, only he doesn't know it yet.
You think so?
Yes.
Why do you think he should resign?
The list's too long. That's as long as your arm.
I think he should resign. Yeah, and the reason being, he's expecting everybody else to follow rules and guidelines, which he tells us what we'll have to do, but then blatantly turns around and they do their own thing. And like to say he thought it was a business meeting, I never known a Prime Minister to take their wife to a business meeting. You know, lies and goddamn lies, that's all it is.
out.
Interesting, isn't it?
That's interesting to hear what the people of Newtown would think. Dead man walking.
Yeah. So,
But anything can happen in politics.
well, anything can happen, but interesting, there's a YouGov poll out which shows that more than half of Conservative voters don't believe the Prime Minister's apology that he made last week. And if Tory voters aren't believing him, then how can they then go on to support an MP? So it's the backbenchers who are going to then come forward with these letters of no confidence to Graham Brady.
Yeah, there are already quite a few, aren't there? But what I hate, and I think most people do, because they picked up on it, nearly everybody has, is that the apologies aren't real apologies.
No.
They're apologies for the offence that might have been caused, or they're apologies for the hurt that has been felt. But they're not apologies for actually doing it in the first place.
No, and there's got to be a lapse of whether there are legal loopholes or not, as to whether laws have been broken. It's a bit odd, isn't it? But what about these changes that they're talking about to try and win people back over, including a booze ban in number 10?
Yeah, now, exactly. So after all that we've heard, apparently it is said that Boris is going to say, I'm going to end the drinks culture inside number 10. There will be no booze inside number 10. So, I mean, is that going to convince anyone?
Well, it seems a bit odd. That seems a bit odd to me.
But it also seems like shifting the blame, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, right, we'll get rid of the booze. But that's not getting rid of the attitude or the culture, is it?
And what about the idea as well, he's talking about bringing the military in to police the channel and all these sort of things. But is that enough to win people over?
Well, I think it depends what matters to you. There are a lot of people. In fact, we're going to hear from more people up and down the country throughout the programme. It depends what gets your goat about what the recent scandals, so-called scandals, have been. Some people don't care about the wine o'clock business inside number 10. I guess maybe it depends where you've worked and whether that sort of culture went on. I must say, I've worked in breakfast television most of my life, so you don't have a glass of wine after the show because it's just too early to do it. But when I worked on an evening programme at the very beginning of my career, we used to go into the boss's office after the programme, have a glass of wine and chew over what was good and what was bad about the programme.
Right.
That happened every night.
See, it's not in where I've worked. It's never...
No,
well, mind you, but like you, I've been finishing either very early or very late. But
that's not to say you don't feel like a gin and tonic at 10 o'clock in the morning, but you don't have them.
But what about your culture at work? Do you have a drink when you finish on a Friday? Do you head down the pub or...
Or do they open a bottle of wine in the office? I don't know.
No,
I mean, they do in the city, don't they?
Well,
They never stop, do they, in the city?
They've got plenty of money in the city.
Yeah. I suppose that's what I mean. I think it depends on the sort of culture that you've experienced yourself. What's going to change your mind about Boris? Getting rid of the drinks culture at number 10, bringing in the military to deal with the immigrants across the Channel problem. I don't know. Ending COVID restrictions, that might have. Clearly, that's what he quite cynically has sat down and thought, what will win them over? And this raft of plans, so-called, I mean, we haven't heard it officially, but that's what all the papers are saying. This raft of plans is clearly aimed at soothing our woes.
Yeah, we just want to know, will it soothe you or not? Is he Teflon? Can he scrub up from this one, or does he really need to go now? And time for a changing of the guard.
Changing of the guard. That's a good one. Yeah. He's going to brazen it out, I reckon.
Yeah,
but will you be convinced? Shall we bring you up to date with the headlines?
Yeah, let's. It is 12 minutes past 6. The Prime Minister has been saying, reportedly planning to cull members of his top team as he fights back over the Partygate allegations. It comes as a growing number of MPs call for him to resign. The Sunday Times says the Prime Minister is devising policy announcements as he looks to survive the publication of Sue Gray's report this week.
And then what about Novak Djokovic? He's waiting to learn his Australian Open fate as judges hearing his visa appeal have retired to consider their verdict. So we still don't know. Earlier, lawyers representing the Australian government claimed his presence in the country could stoke anti-vaccination sentiments. We'll hear about that. Hopefully today. Could be as late as Monday morning, though.
Hostages held at a synagogue in Texas have been safely released after being held for more than 10 hours. The gunman is reportedly dead and all 4 hostages uninjured. The man had been demanding the release of Pakistani neuroscientist convicted of trying to kill US Army officers in Afghanistan.
And meanwhile, Prince Harry is fighting a Home Office decision refusing to allow him to pay for his family's security whilst in the UK. Harry wants to bring his son Archie and baby daughter Lilibet to visit from the US, but claims it's too dangerous. It follows an incident in London last year when his car was chased by paparazzi.
Now, tsunami-hit Tonga remains largely uncontactable as telephone and internet links have been severed. An underwater volcano close to the Pacific island erupted on Saturday. Those satellite images are phenomenal. Triggering warnings of 1.2-metre high waves. Currently no official reports of injuries or deaths. So it seems the revelations from Downing Street are continuous at the moment. We're hearing about parties, wine Fridays, suitcases stuffed full of booze, and even those new booze fridges.
Oh, it's scandalous, the fridge. Although this is splatting across the tabloids and becoming almost entertainment news, one MP in South Shields says we can't forget the reality of the suffering and hurt that these parties have caused. Our North of East England reporter Rachel Sweeney joins us live now. Hi there, Rachel.
Hello, good morning. Yes, in the northeast of England there is certainly anger, disappointment, frustration and even a sense of helplessness at the do as I say, not as I do attitude, or at least perception of attitude from the government. There's a particular anger in my patch, northeast of England, because you've got to remember that there were traditional red wall areas. Look at Hartlepool, Labour from 1974. There was a 30-foot inflatable of Boris Johnson in Hartlepool because they really believed in this government and you know, they've been let down. I spent yesterday in South Shields with the MP there, Emma Lowell-Buck. She's absolutely outraged at the revelations. She says that in particular, she cannot believe that they had a party the night before our Queen said goodbye to her husband, Prince Philip.
Yeah, if there's one thing that unites us across this country, no matter where you're from, no matter what class you are, it's love for our Queen. For a lot of people, that was the final straw. Parties in number 10, the night before the Duke's funeral, has been absolutely the final straw. And I'm lost for words, like a lot of people are. We've never had such a charlatan as Prime Minister before. And the only way to get rid of this man is by his own MPs putting in the letters to the chair of their party. This man does not have the dignity or self-respect to resign, so they need to get rid of him. It's all good and well Tory MPs being across the airwaves saying we think it's appalling as well, it's a disgrace. Well, put your money where your mouth is. Stop platitudes. Stop with the platitudes. Get your letters in and get rid of him. They know they can do it. They need to get on with it before they allow this man to do more damage.
Oh, well, I mean, she doesn't mince her words, does she? But in terms of getting those letters in to Sir Graham Brady, the chair of the 1922, I mean, what are members of the Conservative Party in the North East actually saying?
Well, we've seen some letters of no confidence. I've spoken to a Conservative MP in my patch from Redcar, Jacob Young MP. He has had a particularly bad experience through COVID because he lost a family member. People have sacrificed so much. We've been going to funerals on Zoom. Women have experienced miscarriages alone. Fathers have missed out on the whole pregnancy journey. Jacob Young MP said, although he appreciates what the Prime Minister has said as a brief explanation, you know, he's still had a rough time of it. Let's hear what he had to say. My granddad died without us on the 16th of April 2020. We held his funeral on the 1st of May, where only 10 people attended. It was one of the hardest days of my life and made worse because I didn't hug my mum and dad. I am grateful to the Prime Minister for his apology and his brief explanation. The inquiry should now be allowed to do its work and establish the full facts of what happened. We must never let our loved ones die alone again. There's a cross-party hurt there, and from what I hear in my patch, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to recover from.
OK, Rachel, thank you.
And it's 6:17. Do stay with us because we've got plenty more to come, including why the energy companies are doing everything to help keep you warm, apart from cutting your bill. Don't go away.
Well, looking ahead to the weather for you, in the UK is looking like a pretty mixed picture today. A band of rain slowly moving south across the country. So these are the details. Southwest England seeing a few showers this morning. Sunny spells developing, though. Will be on the mild side. Temperatures in double figures. There will be variable cloud. Could be odd light shower, but most places will stay dry. Temperatures around average with light winds. Cloud and rain moving southwards across Wales. Perhaps Cardiff remaining dry until we approach early afternoon. Temperatures reaching about 10 Celsius. Over to the Midlands then, and after a bright morning, cloud and rain will move in from the north as we head towards midday. A little cooler, temperatures around 7 Celsius. That weather front will soon clear northern England, allowing the skies to brighten. Plenty of sunshine by lunchtime, but a chilly northerly breeze, highs of 7 towards the coast. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers as well for northern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere across Scotland, it's going to be dry, plenty of sunshine. Temperatures in Edinburgh reaching about 6 Celsius. Northern Ireland will see plenty of blue skies, some cloud drifting through, but it will remain dry. There's a chilly feel to the air with temperatures of just 7. And into this evening, the cloud and rain will clear south, turning colder, a frost developing not long after dark. And that is how the weather is shaping up for the rest of the day.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
It is 6:21. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne, live across your TV and your radio. Can I just throw in a GB News view? This from Steve Winnie. Morning to you, Steve. He said, in my opinion, it's not whether there was or is a drinks culture going on in number 10 that cuts to the quick. It's that they treated the public and the lockdown rules with contempt by disregarding them, while others that may have been married for decades were not allowed to sit with their loved ones in their final
Quite
moments.
right, I think. Well put. But if you've got a view, let us know. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Now, let's have a look at those stories that matter to the pound in your pocket for the week ahead. Let's join Michael Wilson, business and finance commentator. Morning, Michael. First up, looking at the Office for National Statistics. The economy is surpassing pre-COVID levels, is it?
It was in November. Whether that actually is going to be affected by the Omicron outbreak and all the rest of it, nobody really knows at the moment because we haven't had those kind of figures. But the truth about it is that away from the Westminster bubble, which you've been talking about this morning, the actual economy, people actually in work, seems to be getting back on its feet again. Most specifically, it's been helped by better results from the construction industry, which was, certainly in November, was getting over its shortage of materials. What it's like now, again, these figures refer to a time which is probably 2 or 3 months ago now. Given when these statistics actually come in, it's very difficult to say what it's actually like out there as we speak. However, if there is good news about the economy, the bad news, and there always is some, isn't there? There's always another side to the coin. And the fact is that we are going to see more increases in interest rates. The cost of living is surging. There's no question about that. And the poorer amongst us actually pay more for our energy bills as a larger proportion of our income. So I think things are going to be fairly tough this year.
Yeah, talking about energy companies, we heard that OVO Energy had sent a letter to customers encouraging them to cuddle a pet or perform star jumps to stay warm. And then this weekend, we saw the energy supplier E.ON sending its customers a pair of socks so they can keep warm whilst turning down their heating. How can these companies be so tone deaf, get it so wrong? What do you think,
You're absolutely right. They have tin ears, don't they? There's absolutely no question about that. Couldn't have put it better myself. They have no idea about what consumers actually think. All consumers want is a reduction in energy bills. Thanks very much indeed. Now, the other side of this, of course, is that you should be going around your home at the moment. You should be maybe turning down the central heating slightly. We seem from your weather forecast to be going through some slightly milder weather. Should certainly see where heat escapes from the house through window frames and so on. And there's no problem about putting an extra jumper on. But I do feel as though the energy companies should be actually getting into discussions, which apparently they're holding at the moment with the business secretary and all the rest of the Westminster claque, and actually reducing bills. How they do that? Very, very difficult to say right now because the cost of energy is going up and it's a lot of it's outside their control. However, I do feel that although the Prime Minister originally said that a VAT cut would not actually focus it towards the right kind of people to reduce the right kind of people's bills, can be targeted in the same way that anything else, any kind of government helps target it. It is doable. It's a question of whether the energy companies and the government want to do it. I suspect they will try to do something because even though you ran through those new things that Boris Johnson's apparently going to do, when you see your bills going up, that really brings it all home, doesn't it?
Literally, yeah. Talking about getting some money back, though, Michael, I mean, what's being said about these refund firms that some people use to claim tax rebates?
Okay, so unsurprisingly, these refund firms, these kind of third-party firms which help you reclaim tax relief, charge for their services. One apparently is charging about 48% of what they actually get back for you. They keep 48% of that, which is actually quite high. Which the Consumer magazine is saying is, look, go to the HMRC website. I know there have been a lot of complaints over the years about phones not being answered, but go to the website and just have a quick run through because the advice is, as it should be, completely free. Particularly look at, they're saying, the marriage allowance, which is slightly complicated. But it's doable, and I'm told, this is what Which is saying, that it's relatively simple to do. So much better to have a look first of all. At long term, why not try for an accountant? I mean, again, it sounds as if you have to be earning a lot of money to have an accountant. That's simply not true. Get a decent rate from somebody quite local, or even perhaps somebody who's retired from accountancy. How about that? Get an old brain working on your tax affairs. But anyway, what Which is saying is use the HMRC website if you can.
Yeah, okay, it's good advice. Michael Wilson, good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had quite a lot of people texting in and emailing in about whether or not having a glass of wine at the end of the working day was something that was common in your office or where you worked. And all of them so far did do that.
Well, quite a lot of them. Read.
All right, well, all right.
Oh, that one, what, that one?
UK Brit says, hi. We were down the pub every lunchtime with my boss, and I mean from 11 to 3. The only reason it changed was because I moved from finance to investment banking. Now I'm drinking with the clients.
Yeah, all right. So, meanwhile, though, Jeanette Palmer is an ex-civil servant who worked in job centres for 24 years. Anyone found drinking in the office would have been subject to a warning or even a written warning. Yesterday, she completed a government petition calling for alcohol to be banned across the Westminster estate.
Oh, that won't happen, surely.
No,
Thailand Long says, shortly after leaving the army, I worked for a public sector organisation. Nearly every Friday was what they called a sundowner. Drinking in the office with the windows covered started at 2 p.m. These sessions were led by the boss, worked hard and played hard, and we got results.
Yeah, Bet Spry says she's been retired for many years but did work for local government. Alcohol was not allowed on the premises, and at my own leaving do, we had to have fruit juice.
Fruit juice at a leaving do? Oh. Tell you what, though, I mean, in a short time, we're going to be talking to an astronaut, and there's no doubt, surely at NASA they don't allow wine o'clock.
I bet they don't, no.
I would hope not. On the ISS, do they have any alcohol?
I don't know.
We'll have to
I don't know how it affects you in space.
Probably quite profoundly, I would have thought.
We'll find out with her a little bit later on, and we've got all the papers for you in a few minutes with Andrew Eborn and Ali Mirage. Don't go anywhere.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
It is 6:31. Welcome back. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on your TV and on your radio, of course.
Yeah, now we were saying earlier the front pages of the newspapers will be pretty dismal reading, I think, for Boris Johnson. Let's have a look at the Sunday Times. It says that Boris Johnson is preparing a mass clear-out to save his own skin. A senior government source is quoted as telling the paper Boris's view is that he is not to blame, but everyone else is.
The Observer says the Tories are to force out Mr Johnson if he tries to dodge responsibility. If he doesn't dodge responsibility, he'd have to go anyway. So that's a lose-lose for the Prime Minister.
Well, it is a bit.
The paper also features an image of the moment that a volcano in the South Pacific erupted on Saturday.
Unbelievable pictures. PM ditches all rules, but will it save him? That's the headline on the Sunday Express. The paper says a senior government source has confirmed all COVID restrictions in England will end in 10 days' time.
Daily Star Sunday says stories about parties in Downing Street are coming at a time when the government is planning to tax party supplies, including a levy on plastic glasses, cutlery and balloons.
Balloons. Carrie Johnson broke COVID rules is the headline on the Sunday Telegraph. It features a picture of her and a friend, alleging the Prime Minister's wife broke COVID social distancing rules just a few days after the public were told it was critical to follow the guidance in September 2020.
Developments in the legal action facing the Duke of York is the main story for the Sunday Mirror. The paper says Prince Andrew is claiming he had no recollection of ever meeting Ms Giuffre, despite a widely circulated photograph of her and the Duke when she was apparently 17.
The Sunday People also reports on Prince Andrew, saying he was devastated at losing military honours over the case. Apparently he burst into tears.
Mail on Sunday has the latest on the clash between the BBC and the Culture Secretary, Nadine Dorries. She's said to freeze the licence fee for 2 years. So this is apparently one of the Prime Minister's sort of
his
pledges,
big ideas
to get everyone back on side. It means the corporation will have to find savings of more than £2 billion in the next 6 years.
How are they going to manage? Finally, The Independent on Sunday leads with its exclusive story revealing that some poorest patients are suffering from long COVID without specialist care. It says the lack of NHS treatment will increase wider inequality.
OK, let's go through the papers in a bit more detail with futurist and broadcaster Andrew Eborn and financier Ali Miraj. Good to see you both this morning.
Good to see you. Hello.
Let's kick off with the front of the Sunday Times. Should we damage control?
It is extraordinary. I was with you 4 weeks ago, 12th of... when was it? 12th of
December, it must have been.
And we were saying then, the first revelations came out, and I said at the time, there will be more, because there will be photographs and there's video footage and so on and so forth. And I said at the time, the best disinfectant is sunlight. Get it all out there. Don't let the press control the narrative.
And instead, what did he do? Denied it.
He hid it.
Yeah.
Or people didn't hid it or pretend and then had that all sort of obfuscation word early in the morning.
Nice word.
Thank you, especially if you can say it. And the problem is that people misread the whole situation. History repeats itself because people never learn the lessons from history. Disclosure is the best way of doing it. Get it all out there. Have a very clear picture to paint to everybody. Say parties took place. OK, whatever they are, we don't want to hide behind what does this...
Well, you think Boris would have, should have stood there and said, yes, parties took place, terribly sorry?
I think, as I say, full disclosure is the best thing. You cannot stand at the dispatch box and basically lie to Parliament.
But
his wording...
But maybe he didn't.
But Ali, if he'd done that, surely that wouldn't have saved his skin. If he's admitting culpability in that way, he would have had to have gone anyway, wouldn't he?
Well, indeed, but the problem is now that the court of public opinion is deciding on culpability, and the problem that the Prime Minister has are really two issues. One is credibility, the other is trust. And this is the latest in a long series of missteps and unforced errors that the Prime Minister has sort of overseen. It started with Owen Paterson, then you had all these issues about text messages with Lord Brownlow over his wallpaper, who paid for the Prime Minister's wallpaper.
£800 a roll.
Yeah,
I can't believe it. I still can't get over that.
And the fact that Lord Geit, who is his independent advisor on the ministerial code, writing him a very, very harsh letter last week saying how upset he was that these text messages were not revealed. And then the latest episode in the psychodrama continues with not only one party or two parties, but it'd be easier to work out which days there wasn't a party in Downing Street than the days that there was.
Yeah.
And the thing that really upsets Tory voters in the heartlands is the fact that on April the 16th, the day before Prince Philip's funeral, there were two parties going on Downing Street. That is really irksome to Tory voters. And I can tell you that I've spoken to a number of MPs, Tory MPs, in the last 24 hours who are back in their constituencies and are getting it in the neck from their constituents and also their associations. 53% of Tory party members in the Conservative Home poll are already saying, party members are saying that Boris Johnson should go now.
But this
he may fire everyone, but I don't think it's going to save him in the long term.
But this is interesting, isn't it, in the idea that what is riling people is this disconnect between those in power and those who vote people in power. And it's the same as you get with a lot of media organisations where they don't connect with real people and what is actually going on. We've got to get back in touch with everyone out there, haven't we?
But also, it's putting... To be fair, though, I thought, seeing Boris during Question Time, he was a broken man.
He looked mystified as well.
Really he didn't get it.
He didn't get it.
He didn't get it at all, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think he feels a bit wounded. He feels as though people are having a go at him. And actually, to be fair, I always try and balance things. What he said at the dispatch box was not, there were no parties. He said, I thought it was within the rules. I was reassured it was within the rules. So the question is this. He won last election, was basically he's got two people to appease. He's got the red corders, who are the traditional Tory voters, and the red wallers, who for the first time in history for a lot of these people, they've been elected as MPs. What they're really concerned about is the pulse of the public. These new measures, Operation Red Meat to Save Johnson's Bacon. I love these
Red
things.
meat.
Red Meat to Save Johnson's Bacon. I love these Peppa Pig references by
Oh, I see.
that's what it
Yes,
is. You
of
see,
course.
eventually, boom, tish, and all that sort of stuff. What I love about it, this is going back to saying, look, the parties are parties. It's terrible. Yes, I know there's that hypocrisy and the juxtaposition of the Queen sitting alone with Prince Philip, which is the image, isn't it, for what lockdown and dedication to duty is all about.
Oh, I tell you what, just in a word then from each of you, will he be gone by March, Ali?
It's looking increasingly likely that it might be, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. They cannot afford to do that by March. They need to make sure this will be the narrative. The narrative will change. It will be about positive stories, about helping people, levelling up, and we'll make that make sense.
That's the longest one word I've heard from you, Andrew. Okay.
That's like a politician, isn't
He
it?
is like a politician. Should we talk Djokovic?
Ooh.
Ali?
Well, I mean, Djokovic, he's waiting for the judge to give his verdict on whether he's going to be kicked out of the country or not. I mean, the whole entire episode from start to finish has been completely unedifying, both on the part of Djokovic and the Australian authorities. Why Djokovic was ever allowed to get onto a plane in the first place is beyond me. Apparently, Tennis Australia, the governing body of tennis, said that he could come. He had the requisite exemptions. He was also supposedly given the right exemption by the state of Victoria, where the Melbourne tournament happens. But the federal government said that it was not the case, and they're worried about social unrest. They're also worried about the fact that there is an election happening in Australia, and they don't want it again to be seen to the point that we just mentioned about people in positions of, well, powerful people or influential people or sports people not abiding to the same rules as everyone else. So I think it looks increasingly likely that Djokovic is going to have to sit this one out, but it might actually impact him for the next 3 years. So, look, I respect the right of anyone to decide if they don't want a vaccination, but honestly, Djokovic, looking for his 21st Grand Slam, if he just had the vaccine, he could have been probably getting to 24, 25 Grand Slams, putting clear water between himself, Federer and Nadal.
Again, we have to be fair. It has to be balanced. I think it's a horrendous thing. The world's best returner, is he about to be returned to the joys of Monte Carlo?
Well, you're a very good headline writer.
I could do that, couldn't I? And I came in there first with no vax Djokovic. I mean, they didn't, you see. They missed that when it first came around. Yeah. This is the problem, Anne and Stephen and Ali, is that what happens is it's suddenly become political. And you've got all of the people saying that Serbians he's the world's best. He should be playing. For me as a lawyer, it's very simple. He's either within the rules or he's not. You've got 3 judges currently deliberating while we speak. They tune into GBNews in between so we can give them a clue.
But get on with it,
need
please.
to be clear. It will happen, maybe before we're off air.
What do you think they'll decide?
Andrew, why did he get on a plane? Why did they let him get on a plane? I agree with you 100% on the rules. But then the rules at federal level and at state level, they should be aligned, and he should have never been... It's embarrassing for not only him, but for Australia.
It's embarrassing for everybody.
But isn't it interesting that we talk about, this is ended up being a political decision? Well, surely the decision by Tennis Australia and by the state government has been almost a financial decision. Absolutely. They want him in to get the money.
Of course they do, but it's Alex Hawke who has that discretionary judgment. And what he's now saying is that, hang on, you've got to all inspire the anti-vax movement. You're going to be the poster boy for anti-vax movement. And as a result, this is going to cause dissension in Australia. There's an election coming up. 90% of the people,
but
90%
that's no reason to deny
Australia.
him in the country, is it? That's no reason.
Yeah, you're right, Anne.
He has the right of free speech in Australia.
You're absolutely right. But there are 2 points on it. One is is he within the rules? And he won the first round. And basically, he does more in court, either the tennis court or the legal court. He's winning on both of those. It is now this discretionary power saying he's going to incite the anti-vaxxers. So it's a different thing they're trying him on.
It is, yeah. They're lawyers. They always try lots of different
lawyers
angles,
try
don't
everything,
they?
don't they? It's always there.
No, it's a very interesting one. Do you know what I'm going to do, though? I'm going to make an executive decision.
Go on.
And I'm going to say, thank you both. And it's been very good to know. We'd normally do another story.
But I know why.
I'm booting you off.
I know why, too.
Because we've got 14 minutes left. And
there's somebody very special we want to speak to.
Very special. But we'll see you two a bit later on. Thank you.
Well, there have been some absolutely amazing ventures in space in the past few months. The incredible missions into low Earth orbit by Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and the intriguing moves up there by Richard Branson too. And then, of course, at Christmas, we all heard about the launch of NASA's James Webb telescope, which is said to be even bigger and better than the amazing Hubble telescope, looking further into deep space and ultimately looking for life out there.
Well, we've seen over the past few days how it's unfolded. It's giant gold mirrors. It's going to be months before it starts to deliver. It's got to cool down to, I think, minus 230 Celsius before it'll work properly. So how is the space programme itself unfolding, and what happens next?
Well, let's ask someone who really knows, because she has been an integral part of the NASA story since 1978, when she was recruited as one of the first female astronauts, and she's clocked up some 192 hours in space, and she was the first ever mother in space.
Oh, yes. Let's join Anna Lee Fisher from her home in Houston, Texas. It is such a joy to talk to you. Thanks for joining us on GB News. First and foremost, and I've got to ask, what is it like to leave this planet? I mean, I know it's a question you must have been asked 1,000 times, but that journey itself, actually heading into orbit, must be exhilarating and yet terrifying, isn't it?
Probably both. Yes, it's definitely. But getting the opportunity to go into space is just, words just leave me. You don't have enough words to explain just how wonderful it is. I'm so excited about all the new things that are happening. Perhaps more people will have the opportunity to get to see that amazing view that we've had the privilege to see. It's really an amazing, almost surreal experience.
And as we said there, you were the first mother in space. And to go up there on your first mission, you had to kiss your little girl goodbye. We just saw that lovely picture. And then you go and sit on what is essentially an enormous explosive. You must have been, even though despite your training, you must have been frightened and worried that you may never see your daughter again.
Well, anyone who certainly sits on the shuttle, I can't speak for some of the more recent rockets, but I think pretty much for any rocket to say that you're not afraid, they're probably not telling you the truth. And certainly I thought over all those things, but space exploration and the honor that I had in being in the first group of women, I never second guessed my decision that I wanted to go into space and be an astronaut. And I also wanted to be a mom. And I guess you just hope that everything's going to work out okay in the end, and trust all those amazing people working on all that hardware to make it as safe as possible.
I mean, the time when you were flying on the shuttle, I mean, it seemed to be like the sort of golden age of space travel, if you like, and things have quietened off. But we are picking up again, aren't we? I mean, what do you make of the Artemis Program?
Oh, I agree with you that there was kind of there's several golden ages, actually. You know, Apollo was an amazing time as well. And I really think the shuttle era was another golden age. And I think now that we're coming on to a very new age, and it's very interesting to see how all of this is going to work out with the Elon Musks and Jeff Bezos and Virgin Galactic. It's very exciting. I think the Artemis program is going to be equally amazing. I mean, we want to go back to the moon now and not just go there and get some specimens of moon rocks, but actually go build a lunar base and live there, learn how to live on another body away from Earth, in preparation, of course, for going to Mars. So I think it's really exciting. If I were given a choice, which era would you choose? It would be really hard. I mean, I love being part of the shuttle program, but to be able to go to the moon and go to Mars, I think people in my group are shocked. When we first were selected, I think we thought by now we would have already been to Mars. So I don't know. They're all exciting. Space exploration is exciting. Just being a part of it and the teamwork and everything is amazing. So each program has its pluses and minuses.
Working on the Orion spacecraft, haven't you? Which is the one that will hopefully take us to Mars. And you've been developing things all the way along the line. Obviously, as an astronaut, your mission was to go up into space. But I know we saw a lovely picture of you earlier with the first intake of female astronauts. And you were alongside this enormous spacesuit that was clearly a man's spacesuit. And you had to actually design spacesuits for smaller people.
Well, I was involved in testing, trying to find a spacesuit to actually get the shuttle spacesuit, because that design was so far along at that point that we could not have really changed it. To get it to fit someone smaller like me, we weren't really successful with that, but we're now in the process of a new suit design, and I'm very hopeful that the next suit will allow the smaller people and also the extra large suit. Originally, the shuttle suit was going to be extra small to extra large. Eventually, they found that was pretty difficult and also extremely expensive. So they decided that if you wanted to do a spacewalk, you had to fit in the medium or the large suit. But we're in the process now of the next generation suit, and hopefully this time we'll be able to find one to fit the smaller people like me.
I mean, in terms of, of developing all these areas of space travel, whether it's the rockets or the suits or all the technology involved, how important is it? I mean, has it made a difference that things have obviously shifted away from NASA to the private sector to a certain degree? Has that changed the pace of development?
Well, it's definitely different. I must admit that I'm surprised. When I first heard, that Elon Musk was coming up with his concept of SpaceX, say about 10 years ago, I was extremely doubtful that would be successful. And when NASA picked the two contenders, Boeing with their Starliner and SpaceX with their Dragon, to be the next generation to take astronauts to the space station, I think I would have put all my money on Boeing and certainly not on SpaceX, but I was wrong. SpaceX has very much surprised me, and I think all of us. And so I think just bringing in other ideas, other companies, I think everybody is excited about going into space, and we can maybe, just like when we did our partnership with the Russians for the International Space Station. We learned many things from them and they from us. And I think the same thing is happening now with our commercial partners, that we're benefiting from learning different ways. I think SpaceX is benefiting from working with NASA and learning about some of our very strong attention to detail. And I think we're perhaps learning from them about other ways of doing things perhaps quicker. So I think it's a beneficial relationship, and I'm really excited by how the program is progressing now, and how right now we're on Crew 3 that's on board the International Space Station, and they were able to do that in the middle of COVID, to have the first manned launch on SpaceX. So I'm very impressed with how NASA and our commercial partners are working together.
Yeah, it must be very encouraging for you, because I know at one point, there was one time I think you said in an interview when somebody asked you, what should a would-be astronaut do? And you said, learn how to speak Russian, which gave everybody the impression that you were frankly, worried that NASA wasn't doing as well as it used to. But suddenly we're hearing so much more coming from America now. And Europe.
Well, that comment was based on the fact that for almost a decade, we launched on a Russian Soyuz. And so, if you're going to be launching on a Soyuz, you want to be able to speak Russian well. So that was the basis of that comment. But no, I am so proud that we are now launching astronauts from U.S. soil. But we continue to also fly on the Soyuz and be with our partners on the International Space Station. So the comment about learning Russian is still probably a valid one, but I'm very proud that we're now able to launch from U.S. soil, U.S. astronauts from U.S. soil.
Anna, what would you say to those people who are still sort of sceptical about space travel, where there's a lot of problems on the planet, as we know, and there are those people who say, well, should we be heading into space? And Prince William was one of them, wasn't he, really?
He actually was, yeah.
But, I mean, what do we learn from space? What are the benefits to the planet from venturing outside the atmosphere?
Oh, my goodness. I always find it hard to, sell the space program based on the things that we have learned from it. But my gosh, we've gotten so many wonderful things from the computers that we have, telemetry for medicine. There's just so many benefits that we gain from it. But for me, the reason to go into space is there are many reasons, but space exploration, I think human nature just wants to explore the unknown. And also preservation of our species. What happened to the dinosaurs. And so I think we need to learn how to go beyond our planet to preserve our species. But and also inspiring young people to study in STEM fields. Not everybody's going to be an astronaut per se, but there's so many amazing careers and so many wonderful discoveries that come as a result of space exploration. And again, I would also say, just like in your family budget, you need to pay for your food and your lodging and all those sorts of things. But you also have to pay for your future. You save for your retirement and so forth. And I think the same thing's true with a national budget. You have to take care of health care and all the many things that we have to deal with. But you also have to look to your future. And to not invest in that would, I think, be foolish.
When you're up there in orbit looking down on Earth, what's the first thing you look for? I presume where you live. You look for where you live. But what are the other things that strike you about just looking at Earth?
Oh, that's my one regret on my flight, was that I didn't study geography as much as I wish I had, because you will look, yes, you're right. The first thing you look at is your home. And then, I grew up in Los Angeles, so looking at that. But then beyond that, you'll be looking out the window and you'll see a mountain, or you'll see a lake or a river. And back when we flew, we didn't have all the support software that the current astronauts have. So you weren't going to ask over the air to ground, I just passed over a lake. What was that lake? But, things like that. It's just so much fun to look out the window and see just the planet is just incredible. The colors in the Caribbean, it's just such an amazing view. And the people who've been on the International Space Station and been up there for like 6 months, the view out the window becomes almost like their backyard. They become so familiar. You can look out and almost immediately know where you are, even without looking at the world map and everything. It's just an incredible experience.
Annalee Fisher, I could talk to you, we could talk to you all day long. It is such a joy to have you on the programme. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your thoughts with us today.
Yeah. Thank you. Lovely to see you. Do stay with us because we have plenty more to come in the next hour, including the biggest sports stories with Aidan McGee. Could Everton be set to sack their manager this morning? We'll find out very soon.
Let's have a look at the weather for you. The UK is looking like a mixed picture, a band of rain moving across the country. So in the details, southwest England seeing a few showers this morning, some sunny spells developing. A bit on the mild side though, double figures for most. For the southeast of England, variable cloud. There could be the odd light shower, but most places are dry. Temperatures around average, light winds. Cloud and rain continuing to move southwards and across Wales, though perhaps Cardiff should be dry until we approach early afternoon. The temperatures there about 10 Celsius. Heading to the Midlands then, and after a bright morning, cloud and rain slowly moving in from the north as we approach midday. A little bit cooler, temperatures of about 7. That weather front will clear northern England, allowing the skies to brighten. Plenty of sunshine by lunchtime, but then a chilly northerly breeze. Highs of 7 towards the coast. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers for northern parts of Scotland as well today. Elsewhere across the country, dry, plenty of sunshine. Temperatures in Edinburgh just topping at 6. Northern Ireland will see plenty of blue skies, some cloud drifting through, but it will be dry. A chilly feel to the air with temperatures of 7. For this evening, the cloud and rain will clear south, turning colder, a frost developing not long after dark. So that's the not overly pleasant weather picture for the rest of the day.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock and this is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
We're live across the whole of the UK on your TV and on your radio, so whether you're watching us in Leeds or listening to us in Ipswich, or maybe you're watching us on YouTube in Aberdeen, wherever you are, you can take us with you, whatever you're doing today.
Some of you may also be catching up via the GB News app whilst travelling to work. You could even be a Brit abroad. If so, we're here for you too, and actually, in fact, we'd love to hear from you. Coming up this morning on Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Is Boris out to save his own skin? Suggestions the PM is planning a mass clear-out of Number 10 staff, but with Labour now having a 10-point lead over the Conservatives in the polls, can we expect a new raft of policies aimed to win over the voters? We've got reporters around the country finding out what you think of the embattled PM.
The Duke of Sussex has applied for a judicial review of a Home Office decision not to allow him to personally pay for police protection for himself and his family when they're in the UK.
And if what's going on Earth isn't enough for you, we'll explore everything space-related. We'll give you a few little clips from our interview with the first ever mother in space, Anna Lee Fisher.
And you can join any of our discussions, of course, by emailing gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet @gbnews.
Let's just start with some breaking news for you this morning. And Novak Djokovic has lost his visa appeal against deportation.
That has to be it, doesn't it? The decision was announced just moments ago in federal court. It means he will not be able to compete in the Australian Open tomorrow.
I'm sort of not surprised, to be perfectly honest.
He'll be devastated.
He will be devastated. But what do the people of Australia think?
Tennis Australia will be devastated.
They will, but excuse me. But there's been so much anger about because the restrictions have been so tough and the lockdown's very tough in parts of Australia. There's so much anger about the idea of someone who, the rules have not been absolutely clear. His status has not been absolutely clear. So why should there be one rule for the people of Australia and something else for him?
It's exactly that again, isn't it? It's one rule for them, one rule for us. And Australia's had a really grim time. They've suffered, I think, the worst lockdown in the world, haven't they? And a lot of Australians haven't been able to see family. They've been stranded abroad, unable to go in themselves. And I think it was sort of taking the measure of that sort of anger that must have helped sway that decision. But, gosh, so he'll be on a plane home.
Yes, yeah. His lawyers were arguing, actually, I saw it just a short time ago, that if it went in his favour, he should be released from the hotel within 30 minutes. Well, whether it'll be that quick to get him back on a plane, I don't know.
Well, he won't want to hang around. He won't be able to hang around anyway. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is interesting now is having appealed and appealed again and then had both appeals turned down, does that mean he won't be able to enter Australia for a good 3 years yet? That's what they've been saying, isn't it? Which means that not only will he be deprived of his great record-breaking chance of winning the Australian Open this year, which would have made 21 Grand Slams, but if he can't do it again for 3 years, that gives other tennis players a chance to catch up with his incredible record, doesn't it? And I know from what Rafa Nadal has been saying, he won't be very upset about it, and I don't think Andy Murray will either.
No. Well, I don't know. Andy Murray was very coy yesterday, wasn't he? He didn't want to sort of kick someone when they're down, I think he said, or words to that effect.
Yeah. But I think he still feels, gosh, if he'd just had the vaccination, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, well, that's the reality of it all. We're going to be talking to Aidan McGee for a sports update a little bit later on, so we'll get some thoughts from him about that, of course. But at 7:04, these are our main stories today, and there is grim reading for the Prime Minister as a new opinion poll puts Labour 10 points ahead of the Conservatives. That's up from 5 points just a week ago.
Yeah, now there are currently 6 Tory MPs now publicly calling for Boris Johnson to quit. They're Roger Gale, Douglas Ross, Andrew Bridgen, Caroline Noakes, Will Wragg, and according to reports, Tobias Ellwood gave an ultimatum.
Now, the Sunday Times suggests the Prime Minister will attempt to save himself by having a clear-out of Downing Street staff and announce a series of what they say are populist measures, and that is likely to include a number 10 workplace booze ban to end the drinking culture in Downing Street.
A freeze on BBC licence fee for 2 years to help the cost of living.
The paper suggests he's likely to hand military control of the battle to stop illegal immigrants in the Channel. Someone was tweeting us yesterday about that.
Yeah, well, a lot of people want to see more action on it. And we could see the remaining coronavirus restrictions lifted on the 26th of January. That would be for England only, but it would be very popular with some.
Well, of course, when we have big political stories like this, the media often go and get the opinions from people from mainland Britain. And when we say Britain, we thought it would be interesting to find out what the good people of Northern Ireland have to say. So we sent our reporter, Doogie Beattie, out to find out.
No, I don't think so, to be honest with you. To me, it wasn't a party. What would you call a party?
And what about the difference between him and the Queen sitting
Well, what do you mean?
Well, the Queen was very
Yes,
respectful sitting there.
yes, but them other people that had that party to me were the civil servants. Boris wasn't there. Did Boris know about it? I mean, you can't blame Boris for that.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
No, better than that, the whole friggin' lot should stop talking about the party they had. That's a couple of months ago. Let's talk about the coronavirus. Let's talk about doing something for the public. What he was eating and drinking doesn't give a damn to anyways.
And how disrespectful do you think it was beside the Queen, the image of her and the night before they were having the party?
Sorry?
The night before Prince Philip was buried, they were having another party in Westminster.
I know, but Prince Philip was buried anyway, whether they were having a party or not. That's making issues about nothing, really. You know, Prince Philip's dead and gone, and the Queen, she'll miss him more than anybody. And she is one wonderful wee woman. I think she's the best wee woman in the world, and the only royal that's kept herself clean and perfect. She's an example to all of them. And what she is, the head of the Church of England, she has never let the church down. Perfection is what she is. I love her dearly.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
I think he's just made far too many mistakes and he's just making an idiot of himself, basically.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Because he's lied to the people. And he should do that. And other people's parents have died and had to go through that alone, and he's at a party. So, yeah, I think he should resign.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Because he's just not going anywhere at this stage. He just seems to be falling into one thing to the other.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Because he's told that many lies to the general public. If you can't trust the government, who can you trust? Our politicians are bad enough. You know? So, no, a no for me.
Boris Johnson, do you think he should resign?
He's a dead man walking, only he doesn't know it yet.
You think so?
Yes.
Why do you think he should resign?
The list's too long. That's as long as your arm.
I think he should resign. Yeah, and the reason being, he's expecting everybody else to follow rules and guidelines, which he tells us what we have to do, but then blatantly turns around and they do their own thing. And like to say he thought it was a business meeting, I never known a Prime Minister to take their wife to a business meeting. You know, lies and goddamn lies, that's all it is.
See, and those are some of the views from people in Northern Ireland. Lots of people have got very different views.
Yeah. I mean, Dawn's been in touch this morning. GBViews at GBnews.uk if you want to get in touch. Churchill was above the rules when he was Prime Minister. The same applies to Boris Johnson.
And Chris says Boris is doing a great job. The economy is coming back and he will sort the energy companies and anything else when he's got time to breathe beyond Brexit and COVID. He's had so many unprecedented issues to deal with. He is the best person for this country. Start talking him up.
Sam, though, says there's justifiable outrage at Boris and the government's shenanigans, but who will replace him? Additionally, and this is an interesting point, why has it taken a year for all this to manifest itself, and where are the leaks coming from?
Well, joining us now is Tony Diver. Now, he's political correspondent at The Telegraph, and he broke the story about the parties the night before Prince Philip's funeral. Hello there, Tony.
Good morning.
Can I ask you that question then that Sam asked us? Why has it taken a year for all this to manifest itself, and where are the leaks coming from?
Well, obviously, I can't tell you eyewitnesses that have spoken to The Telegraph about this party the night before Prince Philip's funeral. But I think certainly there are people in Number 10 who are worried about the pace of these leaks. I mean, over the last few weeks, we've heard about something like 12 parties that happened during the pandemic in Downing Street. And you're right, they've all seemed to sort of come out all in one go. There is a feeling among staff that I've spoken to who work there that they don't know when the next one could come out. There's a sort of feeling of a sort of Damocles hanging over people. They think that their events that they were part of could perhaps be next. So it doesn't sound like a very fun place to work at the moment.
Well, OK, that makes it pretty clear then that according to people you've talked to, there is more to come out. There were more parties we don't know about.
That's what's been suggested, yes. And actually, there was an interesting story in the Daily Mirror on Friday morning, which said that pretty much parties were happening every week, that there was Wine Time Fridays, it was apparently called, where even if it wasn't a specifically organised event like the Christmas party that we've heard about, or like these leaving parties that we reported on Thursday morning, that civil servants and political advisors who work in Downing Street were, as a matter of course, just having a drink on a Friday, having a glass of wine at their desk perhaps, and having a good time. And perhaps, people might even feel that that's more insulting than having a sort of one set piece event, that actually for them, having a bit of a booze up was just par for the course.
How difficult a decision was it for the Daily Telegraph to come out with this story? Because, traditionally they are Tory-leaning, Tory-supporting. You must have had a lot of discussion as to whether you should go with this story.
Well, I think it's a huge public interest story. I think the public have got a right to know what was going on in Downing Street, particularly if there's a suggestion that people in the country as a whole are being asked to follow rules, including people like Her Majesty the Queen, who had the funeral of her own husband cut right down and made socially distanced because of the coronavirus regulations that were passed by Number 10, while at the same time people in Downing Street weren't following the rules themselves. And actually, if you look on the front page of the Telegraph again this morning, there is a story about the Prime Minister's wife, Carrie Johnson, who's been accused of not following social distancing rules. So actually, a lot of these stories have come out in the Telegraph, and I think it's right that we're telling the public what was going on.
I don't know if you heard our viewer from Northern Ireland a couple of minutes ago saying that the Prime Minister's a dead man walking. He just doesn't know it yet. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I don't know. I think the Prime Minister would have had to be pretty blind to not to have missed what was going on this week and what's happened to him in the opinion polls. I think perhaps he does know. The question of what's going to happen to him next is quite a complicated one. The reason for that is that these things there are procedures that have to be followed. If Tory MPs want to try and get rid of Boris Johnson, they first have to get 54 of them to send a letter of no confidence in him to Sir Graham Brady, who is the chairman of the 1922 committee. That's a sort of association of backbench Conservative MPs. Once they've got to that point, Boris Johnson then has to face a confidence vote among Tory MPs, where half of them have to say that they've got no confidence in him in order for a leadership challenge to go ahead and there to be a ballot that he's not on. So while people are very upset about these stories in the polls, I think there is a procedure that has to be followed if he wants to be gotten rid of. And I thought it was interesting just there that you gave a list of the Tory MPs who've publicly said that they think that Boris should go. The only new name that I heard on there, which was different to the names that we heard on Wednesday night, was the suggestion of Tobias Ellwood. And I don't think he's actually gone on the record yet. So we haven't perhaps had the flood of anger towards the Prime Minister that we might have expected, or at least a lot of the names that came out are people who've long been critical of him. So Roger Gale has been calling for Boris Johnson to resign for quite a while. So I don't think it necessarily shows us that the tide has turned against him within the parliamentary party yet. But I suppose the question is what comes next, and if the Tories were to have a very difficult time at the local elections, which is coming up in May, or if that inquiry is to come out and show that the Prime Minister either broke the rules or knew that other people were breaking the rules, then perhaps that will be the thing that pushes it over the line. But I think for the time being, it doesn't seem to me that we're anything like 54 MPs calling for him to go.
Interesting, isn't it? One of our viewers says, in my view, there is a concerted effort to turn the people who voted for Boris against him, and it's working. So how much is it justified public outrage at these parties, and how much is it a cynical campaign to get rid of him?
Well, I don't know. I mean, as you just pointed out, it's the Daily Telegraph that's reporting a lot of these stories. I think it would be a bit strange to accuse the Daily Telegraph of running a cynical campaign to try and get rid of the Prime Minister. I don't think actually it's a media campaign at all. I think any newspaper editor would be thrilled to see some of these stories in their own paper. I mean, this story about the Queen, for instance, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward public interest news story, isn't it?
Tony.
I don't know. I think I'm not entirely sure your viewer is right.
Well, no. Forgive me, Tony. I think you've taken it slightly the wrong way.
Say it was the media.
It's not claiming the media's doing that, but claiming whoever's.
Oh, you're talking about sources.
Whoever's talking to you, and these backbench MPs are pushing that agenda.
Well, yes, perhaps. I mean, as I said, there are people in the parliamentary party who don't like Boris Johnson and haven't liked him for a long time. So, yes, I suppose those people naturally jump on these stories and say that that's evidence that he should go. But I think perhaps also, as with a lot of these things, you have one story which shows what's going on. People perhaps think about what was going on in Downing Street in a slightly different light, in light of the sort of public anger that comes out as a result of the first story about this, the story that Downing Street were having parties. Perhaps that makes people reassess. Perhaps there's a crisis of confidence and crisis of conscience among staff who were there. But I think the motivations for these people are always very difficult to work out.
Can we just have a quick word, Tony, about the Kill the Bill protests? I mean, they were all across the country yesterday. Is there any move? I mean, are we likely to see a rejection by the House of Lords tomorrow?
I don't think so. I mean, the problem with these things is that if the government has got a manifesto commitment to bring something in, or something that the Conservative government, who've got a majority in the House of Commons, want to do, they can, even if the Lords do reject it, they can just kick it back and overrule them. So, I mean, Labour have been pushing very hard to amend this stuff. One of the Labour amendments is around locking on. Now, locking on is that what we saw Extinction Rebellion doing, which they basically lock themselves to things in an attempt to stop people from going onto streets or, using public services. That's something that Labour is trying to stop. They say that actually that's a legitimate form of protest and that should be taken out of the bill. So that's perhaps one amendment that could pass. But I think ultimately in the legislative process, if the government wants to put it through, it will be able to. And we know that for Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, this is a massive priority.
Interesting time to be political correspondent in the Telegraph, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's been a very busy few weeks, I can tell you that.
Okay.
And anything can happen in the next few weeks, I suspect, too. Tony, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, a week is a long time in politics, as they say.
Wouldn't you love to know who his sources are?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He'll never tell us, though.
No. Absolutely right.
Let's bring you up to date then with the latest news headlines for you. And at 7:18, Novak Djokovic has lost his visa appeal against deportation. That means he will not be able to defend his Australian Open title tomorrow. Lawyers representing the Australian government had argued his presence could stoke anti-vaccination sentiments. Chief Justice Alsop said all three federal court judges agreed.
The orders of the court are: 1, the amended application be dismissed with costs, such costs to be agreed or failing agreement assessed. 2, reasons to be published at a later date. Those are the orders of the court.
Back here in GB, the Prime Minister is reportedly planning to cull members of his top team as he fights back over the Partygate allegations. It comes as a growing number of Conservative MPs are calling for him to resign. The Sunday Times reporting that Boris Johnson is also devising a policy announcement blitz as he looks to survive the publication of Sue Gray's report.
A man has died after taking 4 people hostage at a Texas synagogue. He was killed when a SWAT team entered the building following a 10-hour standoff. All 4 hostages are unharmed. The suspect had been demanding the release of a Pakistani neuroscientist convicted of trying to kill US Army officers in Afghanistan.
Prince Harry is fighting a Home Office decision refusing to allow him to come here and pay for his family's security whilst he's in the UK. Harry wants apparently to bring his son Archie and baby daughter Lilibet to visit from the US, but claims that it's just too dangerous. And that follows an incident in London last year when his car was chased by paparazzi.
The Scottish Government has called for urgent action to reduce energy bills, including a cut in VAT. Ministers in Edinburgh have written to the UK Government saying there should be targeted support for low-income households. They've asked for discussions ahead of an expected increase in the energy price cap in April. Is VAT going to be enough to cut?
It's got to be lots of things.
Green levy?
Ooh, that's a lot of money too.
It's a lot, 25% of your bill or thereabouts.
Yeah. What would change your mind about Boris? What would make you feel happier about 2022? Do get in touch. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Yeah, but do stay with us because we've got plenty more to come, including a GB News exclusive interview with Labour MP Emma Lewell-Buck. That's coming up after the weather. Let's have a look at the weather for you. The UK is looking like a mixed picture, a band of rain moving across the country. So in the details, southwest England seeing a few showers this morning, some sunny spells developing. A bit on the mild side though, double figures for most. For the southeast of England, variable cloud. There could be the odd light shower, but most places are dry. Temperatures around average, light winds. Cloud and rain continuing to move southwards and across Wales, though perhaps Cardiff should be dry until we approach early afternoon. The temperatures there about 10 Celsius. Heading to the Midlands then, and after a bright morning, cloud and rain slowly moving in from the north as we approach midday. A little bit cooler, temperatures of about 7. That weather front will clear northern England, allowing the skies to brighten. Plenty of sunshine by lunchtime, but then a chilly northerly breeze. Highs of 7 towards the coast, sunny spells and a few scattered showers for northern parts of Scotland as well today. Elsewhere across the country, dry, plenty of sunshine. Temperatures in Edinburgh just topping at 6. Northern Ireland will see plenty of blue skies, some cloud drifting through, but it will be dry. A chilly feel to the air with temperatures of 7. For this evening, the cloud and rain will clear south. Turning colder, a frost developing not long after dark.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview Channel 236.
On Sky, we're Channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
It's 7:25. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on your TV and on your radio.
Now, our reporters have been speaking to people outside their Westminster bubble about Partygate, because we're all talking about it, but we tend to only talk to MPs and people. And we thought, what about real views? So earlier this week, a Conservative association in Sutton Coldfield in the West Midlands voted unanimously to withdraw its support for Boris Johnson.
Well, our West Midlands reporter Balvinder Sidhu has been to the town to speak to the people who live there. So what do they think, Balvinder?
Well, they have, what I would say was a mixed response. I was quite surprised, actually. I mean, the only thing that they all agreed on is that what the Prime Minister has done with Partygate is bad, it's wrong. But, there were some people who said that he's still done a very good thing with the vaccination rollout. So there was a real mixed response. Let's just hear some of those views first.
I think the garden party was just shocking because he spent 25 minutes there and he knew that was a party because there was alcohol involved. So I think that's really, really bad. But the problem is he's done such a good job on everything else. So do we forgive him or do we sack him?
I think he's put himself in a very difficult position. I think that if at the outset he had admitted to these parties, it would have been done and dusted probably within a week. I think he's now in a very, very awkward situation, and possibly will go by May when the next set of elections take place locally. I think if it's a bad result, he's going to be in real trouble then.
An open and honest conversation and take it from there.
Do you think he should resign?
I haven't got a view.
I think what he's done is totally wrong, but I don't think he should go because he's done so much good as well. The injections, I think the rollout of that went really smoothly as soon as our country's come out of it on top.
I think he should go, yes.
Why do you think he should go?
Because he's let everybody down.
Yeah, I do think he should go. I do want he should go. He's done wrong, he should go. He's hiding all the time, secrets, lies.
We followed the rules, didn't we? And they obviously didn't. One rule for them, one rule for us.
Well, depending on who you speak to, the strength of feeling around this, it varies. I mean, some people felt very strongly and frustrated and immensely concerned and think the Prime Minister should go, whereas others feel like he is the right man to lead us out of this pandemic. But on Thursday night, senior members of the Conservative Party Association in Sutton Coldfield, which is considered a stronghold seat for the Tory party, they unanimously voted to withdraw their support for the Prime Minister. Now, the local MP, Andrew Mitchell, was also there at the time, and he has said that he's going to, refrain from any judgment until the outcome of the Sue Gray inquiry is heard. But if other Conservative Party associations follow suit, this could put pressure on MPs to submit a letter of no confidence to the 1922 committee, which would then trigger a Tory leadership contest. Now, it's been a tough few months for the Prime Minister. I mean, just before Christmas, he lost that seat in North Shropshire by-election, which was Owen Patterson's old seat. I mean, that was a true blue seat. It was held by the Tories for nearly 200 years. But it looks like the Prime Minister is digging his heels in. He doesn't want to go. He said he apologised on Wednesday for attending a garden party at Number 10, which he says he thought was a work event, and which we are now waiting for Sue Gray to decide what that actually was this week. But he doesn't want to go. And I think, from the feeling here and just talking to people here, there is a real mixed response to the Prime Minister. He hasn't lost all faith. I don't think. There are people here that still think he's the right man for the job. And this week will be a critical week to see what happens with the outcome of that Sue Gray inquiry.
OK, Balvinder Sidhu, thank you.
It will indeed as well. And if you've got a view, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Do stay with us because we have plenty more to come, including a look at the biggest stories from within the national newspapers today with Andrew Eborn and Ali Miraj.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview Channel 236.
On Sky, we're Channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
It's 7:32. Good morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne across the UK on your TV and on your radio.
Should we take a look at today's front pages? Don't tell Boris, because he won't like them. The Sunday Times says Boris is preparing a mass clear-out to save his own skin. A senior government source is quoted as telling the paper Boris's view is that he is not to blame, but everyone else is.
The Observer says the Tories are to force Mr Johnson out of number 10 if he tries to dodge the responsibility. And there's an incredible picture actually there as well. It's on quite a few of the papers. The moment the volcano in the South Pacific erupted yesterday.
PM ditches all rules, but will it save him? So asks the Sunday Express on their front page. The paper says a senior government source has confirmed all COVID restrictions in England will end in 10 days' time.
Carrie Johnson broke COVID rules, the headline for the Sunday Telegraph. It pictures her and a friend alleging the Prime Minister's wife broke COVID social distancing rules just days after the public was told that it was critical to follow the guidance in September 2020.
Developments in the legal action facing the Duke of York. That's the Sunday Mirror's front page today. The paper says that Prince Andrew is claiming that he had no recollection of ever meeting Miss Giuffre, despite a widely circulated photograph of her and the Duke when she was 17.
Now, the Mail on Sunday has the latest on the clash between the BBC and the Culture Secretary. She is said to want to freeze the licence fee for 2 years, meaning the corporation would have to save more than £2 billion in the next 6 years.
So look out for a lot more repeats. It's time to go through the papers now. Do you know, apparently over Christmas, it was over 50% of the programmes on the BBC were repeats.
It sort of doesn't surprise me.
Mind you, a lot of them are worth watching again and again and again. Some of them aren't they?
I don't really watch. I've got to be honest. I'd be able for scrapping the licence fee because I never watched the BBC.
Don't you?
No.
Oh, I even watched... What's it
apart from
called?
Doctor
BBC
Who.
4. I like BBC 4.
Do you?
Yeah. So it's like nerdy programmes. You'd love it.
Oh, right. I'll have to try it out. I'll have to try it. Anyway, let's go through some of those papers. The futurist and broadcaster Andrew Eborn and columnist at the article, Ali Mirage. Good to see you both this morning.
You.
And since we last had you on, of course, we've had this decision over Novak Djokovic.
Well, I'll tell you what, front page of the Sunday Times, they show an eruption not too far from Australia. The eruption is happening in Australia as we speak.
That is the most incredible picture. We'll have a closer look at it a bit later because I've never seen
now the eruption
so
is in Australia itself because the judges, the 3 federal judges, have come back and unanimously said he's got to go. And the sad thing is, it's been slightly misinterpreted by the press. Because people say it's one rule for him and another rule for them. Yeah. They've misunderstood it. As I mentioned last time, what they've said is that Djokovic is a threat to public order because he would be the poster boy of the anti-vax movement. That's a very different thing to saying that he was allowed in because they found out originally that actually he complied with whatever the rules were to get in and therefore he could play. I think that this is scandalous and this is political.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, it is. There's no doubt it's political, is there? I mean, how do you see it, Ali?
Oh, of course it's scandalous. If you've got the world's number one about to set a record and get the 21st Grand Slam, first person ever in history to do that, and it's a really sad day for tennis, it's a sad day for Serbia, it's a sad day actually for Australia as well. Because if you decide on the rules, I get it, if you're turning around and saying, hang about, is he allowed in? Well, yes, here are the rules, do they make sense? If they turn around and say, you broke the rules, you can't come in, I understand it. This isn't about...
Do you think they always wanted to stop him entering Australia because of his anti-vax
I think Australia is one of the hardest, most fierce countries in terms of their regulation. So 90% of people in Australia have been vaccinated. There's an election coming up. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has got an election coming up in May. All sorts of people say, hang about, you've got to make an example of him. And I do think it's political and not. They would have a good case.
Hold on, though. I mean, Ali, what do you think of this? In the sense that whether the original decision was political or not, this has been upheld by 3 federal judges. Now, they're above politics, aren't they?
Well, look, I think the fact that this has been rumbling on for a week is just unedifying, both for Novak Djokovic and for Australia as a country, quite frankly. I mean, he is a champion. As Andrew says, for tennis fans, it's a very sad day. Djokovic probably in the deep, cold night somewhere, probably thinking maybe I should have just had a vaccine. It would be a lot less hassle. I could have actually avoided all this. And he's potentially looking at a ban now from Australia for the next 3 years, potentially more titles. But look, some of his rivals, Rafa Nadal's come out and said that the tournament is bigger than any one player and that everyone has to adhere to the rules. I do think Andrew's making a fair point here about that it is an election year. This is a very emotive topic in Australia. There have been people in Australia have been living under various sort of forms of lockdown for a long time, particularly in Melbourne. And there is a real groundswell of emotion that people in powerful positions or leading sports figures should be abiding by the same rules as the rest.
And but he has abided by the rules.
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
I mean, by the sound of it, his visa application was all right.
And I think that's what they're saying. They're going to publish the reasons later. And this is why we have to correct the narrative. I've been looking in the break at all the different newspaper reports. Oh, great, hurrah, one rule for them, another rule for them. That's not the story. The story is the discretion that they have to say, hang about, you might cause a civil disruption.
But my understanding, Andrew, was that you have to be in Australia for 2 weeks in quarantine to actually be released. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to have an exemption from that rule. So, I mean, it's all a bit... But the bigger picture is that, frankly, someone of Djokovic's stature should have never got involved in going on that plane in the first. They should have not embarrassed him in this way. It's turned into a standoff now geopolitically between Serbia and Australia, and the whole thing is a mess, and it looks really bad all round.
To make it easy, though, the question should be, did he abide by the rules? If the answer is no, then it's very clear, off you go. If he did abide by the rules and it's become political because he's the poster boy for the anti-vax movement, I think that's scandalous. When the reasons are published, we can have a look at it. But at the moment, and the reports that I've seen coming out, it's basically saying the latter. In other words, the rules are fine, he's entitled to come in, but it's because he's a poster boy for the anti-vax movement and it could cause public disorder that we get rid of him. That is wrong.
Oh, well, we shall see. It's going to be midweek, I think, before we get those details through. Ali, can we have a look at the Daily Express and Liz Truss, Northern Ireland Protocol, Article 16, all these?
Yeah, there's this piece in the Express here. Truss told follow Thatcher over Northern Ireland. Now, Liz Truss, as we know, is one of the potential contenders. Was recently seen wearing a helmet on a tank. I think it was in a
very Thatcherite
somewhere, trying to be Thatcherite, trying to position herself as a Thatcherite figure. And what she's been told by the leader of the Democratic Unionist Party is, don't just try and emulate Thatcher in those sort of things, but actually do what she actually did when it comes to the EU. Have your handbag under the table, ready to be used and swiped. So she had dinner with Maros Sefcovic, the Vice President of the European Commission, in Chevening, which is her country estate, last week. And there are serious issues to discuss. This Northern Ireland Protocol issue all revolves around the fact that there is a border in the Irish Sea, something that Theresa May never signed up to, but Boris Johnson did, and then miraculously, within a few months, wants to try and unpick the whole agreement, because this all centres around the EU wanting to maintain its territorial integrity when it comes to trade. Therefore, there had to be a border in the Irish Sea. That's really upsetting the Unionists, who feel that they've become second-class citizens. Northern Ireland is now a second-class part of the UK, and that's causing serious issues. And there are elections coming up in May in Northern Ireland, so this has to be sorted out. And we already know that Lord Frost, who negotiated the whole Brexit withdrawal agreement, also resigned, partly over this, because he wants to trigger Article 16, which would mean that we'd end up in basically a trade war. So Truss has got to sort it out.
Not necessarily, though, would we? I mean, this is part of the complications with it all. What they're talking about with Article 16 is removing some of the restrictions on key items getting into Northern Ireland and back out again, but not on the vast majority of items, in which case the EU shouldn't start a trade war.
No, I think you're right. And I also think, let's look at this politically. All of a sudden you're mentioning about elections going on. I think Liz Truss has been put in there to fail because I reckon absolutely. In the same way, politically, there may be a challenge coming up for the leadership. I don't think so. I've got a bet.
Well, I don't know. I sense she's had a makeover, don't you?
But she's no Margaret Thatcher, is she? Do you think she's a Margaret Thatcher?
Do they have to be a Margaret Thatcher?
Oh, I think to appeal to certain parts of the Conservatives, they want a Margaret Thatcher. I reckon that she's been put there to fail. In the same way...
You cynic.
Oh, I don't know. It's nice to put a different view. In the same way, Boris was really hurt. He's been really hurt this week, or last week. Yes. He was really hurt by the loss of Frost, Lord Frost. He used to call him the greatest Frost since 1709. That's what he was his gag all the time, which was terrible. That's
that's an inverted pyramid of piffle, that
500 years. But he felt hurt by that betrayal. What I always find interesting is when they revealed that, because actually he told him several weeks before it became public. And I'm always fascinated by the timing of these things. Because in the same way, I think she's been put there to be the fool person.
She won't think so, will she? No, she'll think she has a very real chance.
So she's going to be let in on the secret. But I do think that's the problem. It has to work in Northern Ireland. It has taken ages to get to a good position. If it fails, this could be a monumental moment in history.
Ali, do you think she could be a Prime Minister, or at least a leader?
Well, I've known Liz for a long time. She's a credible person. She's done very well at pivoting from having voted Remain to now being an arch Brexiteer, which is, shows a fleet of foot and deft political touch. She did a decent job, I think, as International Trade Secretary. But she's going to have a tough time. And the Telegraph is got a big double-page spread here with the runners and riders for the camera here. And it looks like it's, at the moment, she's going to be up against Rishi Sunak for the crown.
Who has been very quiet of late.
Oh, yeah, very. Even in his support for Boris, it was all a little bit muted, wasn't it?
Yes,
well, he's just playing his cards close to his chest.
Well, he's had a good crisis. And in fact, the Observer...
Had a good crisis.
Well, the Observer has actually got an opinion poll here with Rishi Sunak, the only Tory contender to have more people saying he would make a good Prime Minister than bad. Only one of the contenders who have a net positive rating, which is quite something. But in the Conservative Home poll of party members' votes, Liz Truss always comes out on top. And the people who are going to decide the next leader of the Tory party are firstly the MPs who decide the final two, that then go to a runoff of the party membership. And Truss is very popular with members. So it's going to be fascinating to watch if this transpires and goes to a leadership
if she gets on the ticket.
But the very fact that we're even discussing leadership contests in this manner is not good news for the PM. I mean, you've been vox-popping people all morning, and an open discussion now, and Boris Johnson being a punchline for a joke is not where you want to be as a Prime Minister. Once your authority ebbs away and people are laughing at you...
Yeah, but if he comes out in the next week, 10 days, with Britain is the first country to really come out of the pandemic, incredibly successful vaccine rollout, economy suddenly recovering. Exactly. So there are the positives. Actually, what they should be doing is a better job in stressing the positives.
And that's what we're going to try and do, and that's what they were saying in the Times today. It's all about, let's change the narrative. You will remember, at the time of the poll last time, it was all about the interior decoration. You're talking about Lulu and her £800 wallpaper. Interior resigns, the headline screamed, all those wonderful puns. And it didn't make any difference at all to the polls. If you start focusing on the key issues, as I said beforehand, let's shine a spotlight on all the terrible things, all the parties, because there are loads of them. The photos will come out with people having that sort of stuff. It's all out there. There's more videos to come out, I can tell you. All I will tell you, though, is shine...
More videos?
Of course there are. You have Alexa Stratton with that one rehearsal. If they're rehearsing it and recording it...
Well, everybody's got a mobile phone, a smartphone with them.
You're going to have selfies with Boris.
At those parties.
I would say, and it's going to be very interesting this time. I say it's black and white, not grey. Sue Gray doing her report. Because it is black and white. You're either at a party or you're there. Don't turn around and say, well, was it a party because we're not really celebrating and it's the end of the day's work. What I love about it is rather like an Alan Ayckbourn play, because all the characters, they're talking about the people who are going to resign. The deputy to Martin Reynolds, who's the Johnson's principal private secretary, is called Stuart Glassborough. I mean, a glorious name if you're in an Alan Ayckbourn
That's something
play.
out The Hobbit.
Michael Fabricant is going around peddling the story, which I love about this sort of thing. It's an Alan Ayckbourn play, isn't it?
Except that people died during the, the pandemic. And we're hearing so much from people who agonisingly could not be with them, who couldn't go to funerals. And I think while we have fun with the headlines, isn't it terrible that actually the bottom line is that people suffered and that suffering wasn't respected within Number 10?
It is absolutely appalling. And it's that juxtaposition of Her Majesty the Queen being the epitome of everything we cherish in this country and being the epitome of leadership, the epitome of how you respect the rules and so on and so forth. And that dramatic picture of her alone in the church grieving her husband of 70-plus years, and you then hear stories of them swigging wine and making jokes about it. You're right. The headlines and the jokes need to stop.
Do you know, she's quite fierce with Prime Minister. So I wonder when he goes to the next audience whether she will actually say something quite cutting to him.
I don't know.
Neither confirm nor deny.
But a lot of this is going to balance, and we talk about the importance of MPs' views and all of this, Ali, but a lot of it is going to balance on members of the public, us, because of whether our local MP feels like they're going to have support at the next election.
Absolutely.
And yet, when we've been out and about talking to people, it's very, very split at the moment.
Yeah, it is. No, I think you're absolutely right, Stephen. And I think just to Anne's point, there's a piece in the Telegraph, an opinion piece. PM deserves praise for keeping Britain open and the recovery on track. This is by Dan Hannan, who was put in the House of Lords by Boris Johnson, so you would expect him to be supportive. But look, as a part-time club DJ myself, this is, that's not a joke, by the way. Daniel Hannan is saying nightclubs remain mothballed in Malmo, Mullingar and Munich, but they thump their hypnotic beats in Manchester. Right? So what he's saying is that Boris Johnson made a big call in July to open up the economy. He made another big call in December not to impose further restrictions beyond Plan B on Omicron, partly because 100 of his MPs would have actually already vetoed further restrictions anyway. So he knew it was politically difficult, but he didn't do it, and it now looks like it's going the right way. Economy bouncing back, massive vaccination program, one of the best in Europe. So that's what Hannan's saying. Will that be enough to save him? I just don't know, because this sense of injustice that we were talking about, and one rule for people in Downing Street, another rule for the rest of us, I just think cuts through. And when you've got public, open discussion going on about the future of the Prime Minister, now people jockeying for position in Parliament, it's not a healthy position for the Prime Minister to be in. I don't know how long this psychodrama can continue.
No. Well, I know how long this newspaper review can continue. No longer at all. But it's good to see you. Thank you both very much indeed. Andrew Eborn and Ali Mirage. We'll catch up with you both a little bit later on.
Shall we bring you up to date with the very latest news? Novak Djokovic is going to be deported from Australia after losing his visa battle. 3 federal court judges made the unanimous decision, and the tennis star has decided not to appeal further. It means he will not be able to defend his Australian Open title when the tournament starts tomorrow.
As we were just talking about, the Prime Minister reportedly planning to cull members of his top team as he fights back over the Partygate allegations. It comes as a growing number of Conservative MPs call for him to resign. The Sunday Times says Boris Johnson is also devising a policy announcement blitz as he looks to survive the publication of Sue Gray's report this week.
And a man has died after taking 4 people hostage at a Texas synagogue. He was killed when a SWAT team entered the building following a 10-hour standoff. All 4 hostages unharmed. The suspect had been demanding the release of a Pakistani neuroscientist who was apparently convicted of trying to kill US Army officers in Afghanistan.
Prince Harry is fighting a Home Office decision refusing to allow him to pay for his family's security while in the UK. Harry wants to bring his son Archie and baby daughter Lilibet to visit from the US, but says it's too dangerous. It follows an incident in London last year when his car was chased by paparazzi.
And the tsunami threat around the Pacific from this huge undersea volcanic eruption from Tonga, well, it remains unclear just what effect it's going to have, but the country remains largely uncontactable as telephone and internet links are severed. The volcano erupted on Saturday, triggering warnings of 1.2-metre high waves. Incredible. And apologies for anyone listening on the radio. The amazing pictures, I don't know if you've seen them, is like the volcano
phenomenal.
coming out of the sea.
And there's some incredible video footage as well from the satellites on that one. It's quite
It was an undersea volcano, but it just sort of came out like a huge plume out of the sea.
I know. At 10 to 8, let's have a look at the biggest sporting events taking place this
Can't
weekend.
think of one.
He is here. Yeah, I wonder what we're going to kick off with, Aidan.
I know it's difficult to offer a different perspective, isn't it? But I mean, everything's going on in Australia at the moment. You've got England down there with the cricket, but most importantly, as you say, Novak Djokovic. I stuck my neck out on the line with you guys last week, and I said that it's not going to end well for Novak Djokovic. There are various points throughout the week where my prediction looked in jeopardy, but not that I'm a betting man, of course, or anything. But I didn't think it was going to end well for him at all, and it's been proven to be the case. I mean, it's centred around. I do think it's very nebulous. The fact that he might have posed a threat to public health. Well, how do we know that? How's that testable in a court of law? It's very difficult. You can just throw that out there.
Because he hasn't been outspoken as an anti-vaxxer.
He hasn't. We didn't know. I mean, I didn't. When we sat here last Sunday, last weekend, we weren't actually sure whether he'd been vaccinated or not. He's not actually confirmed it. We could pretty much guess.
Yeah.
But he never actually came out and said it. It's not. I wouldn't call him. He's been described as a poster boy for the anti-vax movement. He's even been called Novak Djokovic, but without actually knowing whether he'd had the injection, as I say, it's a pretty fair guess. We know which way, that went. But I do believe that he's been judged before he's actually, been waving any flags or anything like that.
I guess we'll have to see what the decisions were based on. We'll get that later on in this coming week. In the meantime, back page of the Mail on Sunday, Rafa Benitez.
I know. Look, it never goes well when a foreign owner comes in and thinks, like, OK, this guy's got a great CV, Rafa Benitez, but there's this problem, the elephant in the room, of him having been a legendary figure at Liverpool in a previous era. They think that, his record will supersede all that. It's almost like they don't take consideration of what fans think. This guy was never going to survive at Everton. He's not going to last there. He'll be gone this week. I'm absolutely certain of that. Regardless of the fact that he did relatively well at Newcastle, he won multiple trophies in Valencia in Spain 20 years ago. He won the Champions League against all odds with Liverpool back in 2005. But I think that the writing's on the wall. It's one win in 13 Premier League games. I mean, that aside, any manager, Rafa Benitez or not, Liverpool connections or not, would be in jeopardy with a record like that. It was a listless performance yesterday. They went to Norwich City, who are, not on paper at the moment because they've played more games than everybody else. They're third from bottom in the Premier League, but they're widely considered as the worst team in the league. They went there and they looked completely out of sorts. And Everton is not a small football club. It's a big football club that spent big money, and they're going to look to someone.
They don't give people very long to turn things around or to make their way, do they?
No, I mean, that's been the culture for 20 years. It started off on the continent. You had giant clubs like Real Madrid just getting rid of people as often as they change their underpants, quite frankly. But that culture has
every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Charming.
Exactly. Well, for me, no, more once every 6 months if you're me, but or maybe none at all. So, sorry, I shouldn't have brought that into it. But no, but it's a culture. It's a culture that's come into the to English football that they dispense with people. Having said that, Rafa Benitez has managed throughout that era. He knows what happens if you don't win football matches. One win in 13. Nowhere near good enough, Stephen.
No, it's not. What about the Premier League title race?
Premier League title race. Well, look, again, I said a few weeks ago that Manchester City are clicking into gear. That's proven the case. They won a key game yesterday, which I think should be enough to get them over the line. We're in January. We've got 4 months to go. They're that good. 13 points clear at the top of the league. They just rattled off 12 games in a row, 12 wins when they really need it. They're looking a bit sticky back in the autumn. But as I've said previously, time and time again, when you look at COVID restrictions, it's the clubs with the biggest squads, the deepest set of resources, the deepest squads who are going to ride this storm out better than anybody else. And Manchester City have done that. And they've just swatted away Chelsea, who they're the European champions. Liverpool, third place, European champions 2.5 years ago. Now, they are the kings in terms of the Premier League, Manchester City, and they proved it again yesterday. Crucial win. Kevin De Bruyne scoring the goal, and I can't see them. I mean, City, you'd say Liverpool would offer the most credible challenge to their authority at the moment. They've got 2 games in hand, but even if they win those 2 games and they win the meeting against Manchester City, that puts them within 5 points. You're expecting a team like Manchester City to then lose another 2 games between here and the end of May or start of May. I think that looks very, very unlikely at the moment. It's bad news for Chelsea, Liverpool, and anybody else who dares to threaten their authority in the coming years because they've got so much money they can just stay there.
Yeah, but last time we were talking, it was all about money in Newcastle, wasn't it?
I know.
They've got more money than anybody else at the moment. And yet, but for them, the money hasn't made the difference. So
No, it hasn't.
Doesn't mean, City isn't guaranteed anything just because they've got pots.
No, look. You can look at the team and you can say they could have spent even more, but the one thing they haven't conquered is Europe. Okay, I mentioned just a few moments ago, Chelsea, the European champions. Liverpool won it in 2019. Other English clubs have won the Champions League in the last 20 years, including Manchester United doing it a couple of times as well. Chelsea did it in 2012. Manchester City, that's the final frontier for them. They consistently fail in the Champions League. They're in with a shout this time, maybe getting the Premier League title wrapped up a little bit earlier than expected. I mean, as I say, we're in January, still 4 months to go. Maybe that will concentrate their resources on the Champions League. They'll put everything into that. It might be their year, but they have to get that crown to be considered among the best clubs in Europe.
OK, Aidan, good to talk to you. Thank you. Stay with us here on Breakfast. We've got all the top stories heading your way in just a moment. Let's have a look at the weather for you. The UK is looking like a mixed picture, a band of rain moving across the country. So in the details, southwest England seeing a few showers this morning, some sunny spells developing. A bit on the mild side, though, double figures for most. For the southeast of England, variable cloud. There could be the odd light shower, but most places are dry. Temperatures around average, light winds. Cloud and rain continuing to move southwards and across Wales, though perhaps Cardiff should be dry until we approach early afternoon. The temperatures there about 10 Celsius. Heading to the Midlands then, and after a bright morning, cloud and rain slowly moving in from the north as we approach midday. A little bit cooler, temperatures of about 7. That weather front will clear northern England, allowing the skies to brighten. Plenty of sunshine by lunchtime, but then a chilly northerly breeze. Highs of 7 towards the coast. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers for northern parts of Scotland as well today. Elsewhere across the country, dry, plenty of sunshine. Temperatures in Edinburgh just topping at 6. Northern Ireland will see plenty of blue skies. Some cloud drifting through, but it will be dry. A chilly feel to the air with temperatures of 7. For this evening, the cloud and rain will clear south. Turning colder, a frost developing not long after dark.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Very good morning to you. It's 8 o'clock on Sunday, the 16th of January. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
And we're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio. Whether you're watching us in Cardiff, whether you're listening to us in Glasgow, maybe you're watching us on YouTube in Belfast. Wherever you are, you can take us with you.
Yeah, and some of you may be catching up on the GB News app as well while you're travelling to work, if you're unlucky enough to be working on a Sunday.
True.
Perhaps you're on the Costa del Sol. Wherever you are, we're here for you as well. Coming up for you today.
Is Boris out to save his own skin? Suggestions he's planning a mass clear-out of number 10 staff. But with Labour now having a 10-point lead over the Conservatives, can we expect a new raft of policies aimed to win over the voters? We have reporters around the country finding out what the people of Britain think of the embattled Prime Minister.
The Duke of Sussex has applied for a judicial review of a Home Office decision not to allow him to personally pay for police protection for himself and his family when they're in the UK.
Plus, we've got all the showbiz news for you with Stephanie Tetchy. There's a lot going on there too. You can join in any of our discussions by emailing gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet @gbnews. Actually, yeah.
I was just going to say there's some really interesting views coming in, and sometimes you just nail it. You know, when someone just comes up with a thought that is absolutely
go on,
right.
what then?
Navina, can you talk about energy bills and all the rest of it, and all these companies sending us out socks and telling us to wear a jumper and do star jumps to keep warm and save money. Navina's been in touch, and you've got it right. It says, technically then, we need to wear our thermals and jumpers and turn the heating down, whilst at the same time open the windows and doors because of COVID.
Yes, it is a dilemma,
so spot
isn't
on.
it? Yeah. It's cold in this studio this morning. I think we're doing the same thing here. And the other thing that's got you going this morning, this is fascinating, is we were talking about the fact that Boris has... one of the things they're saying that Boris is going to do is get rid of all of the booze out of number 10 Downing Street. He's going to end the drinks culture. And what they were doing was having what they call wine o'clock, which was on a Friday, if not other days, after a day's hard work. You know, it's apparently the norm in many offices, not just number 10, to crack open a bottle of wine and everybody have a little drink, just to sort of toast the end of a working day. Do you do it where you work? That's what we were asking earlier. It's incredible, the people who have rung in to say, yes, it's very, very widespread by the look of it.
You keep going.
Where are you off to?
Keep going.
He's going to our wine fridge, aren't you? Are you?
Well...
Yes, I've been told that decanter over there is only for Nigel Farage. What's in there?
It's for talking pints, I think, but, you know, just in case. This is... I mean, it sits there. It's in my eyeline all the time. It's a...
For those of you listening on radio,
decanter,
it's a beautiful crystal decanter, full of a very suspicious-looking yellowish liquid, I say.
Well, I don't know, is that Scotch or
Oh,
brandy?
no, that is Scotch. No, that's brandy.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't drink anymore. I used to love a Scotch.
I used to love
There you go. If you're listening on the radio, there's a bit of a crystal clink for you. So there you go. We won't be touching that this morning. It's too early.
But lots of people... Anne says, for instance, and it's not me, it's somebody else, Anne, having a glass of wine at your desk on a Friday afternoon for these people who've been working extremely hard is not breaking any rules. Well, we'll see about that.
Yes.
Lots and lots of other views about the fact that it seems to be very widespread, the idea of somebody... And I suppose it's good for camaraderie and for getting on and doing the work.
Well, I suppose it is, but, I mean, there's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, isn't there? And, you know, were they really obeying the spirit of what they were trying to get everybody else
During
to
the
do?
pandemic. I mean, that's the point. Maybe outside the pandemic, different offices run in different ways, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, that's something they're saying that the Prime Minister is going to come up with. And certainly if he looks at the newspapers this morning, he will find it a bit gloomy because a new opinion poll is putting Labour 10 points ahead of the Conservatives. And that's up from 5 points from just a week ago.
Now, there are currently 6 Tory MPs who've sort of put their head above the parapet calling for the Prime Minister to quit. Roger Gale, Andrew Bridgen, Caroline Noakes, Will Wragg, Tim Lawton and Tobias Ellwood have given the PM an ultimatum, as well as Douglas Ross, who is an MP and an MSP and the leader of the Scottish Conservative Party.
And they're only the ones we know about. The Sunday Times is suggesting that the Prime Minister will attempt to save himself by having a clear-out of Downing Street staff and announce a series of what they're saying are populist measures. And that is likely to include a number 10 workplace booze ban, as we were saying, to end that drinking culture in Downing Street.
A freeze on the BBC licence fee for 2 years to help with the cost of living.
The paper suggests he's likely to hand the military control of the battle to stop illegal immigrants in the Channel.
And we could see the remaining coronavirus restrictions, the Plan B things, lifted on the 26th of January, but that would, of course, only be for England.
Yes, it remains to be seen what Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland will do because, of course, they have devolved powers and they've been making their own mind up about these things.
They might have to follow suit, though.
I think they will because that will be a popular move, generally, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people think it's just necessary at this stage.
Well, joining us now is Kevin Maguire, who's Associate Editor of The Mirror. Hello there, Kevin.
Good morning.
Oh, hello. Hi. I mean, if you were Boris, what would you think if you read all today's front pages?
I think I'd scream and go back under the duvet because he's in serious trouble. You just outlined, Anne, some of the measures he's going to take. One, the military would not want to take control of migration policy on the Channel. And then two, nothing says there's a lack of leadership more than laying down the jobs of other people in an attempt to save your own. He's dug himself into an incredibly deep hole. He's done that by getting on the controls of a JCB and originally denying there were any parties, then saying if parties took place, they would all be within the rules, which were just clearly untrue. And he's got the stage now. I think he's got to accept, Boris Johnson, that this really isn't about the cabinet. It's not really about who works in Downing Street. It's not necessarily about the Conservative Party or the Conservative government or the MPs. It's about him. And I think he's tarnished.
But you say, Kevin, that he's got to realise, he's got to acknowledge, he's very unlikely to do that. This is going to be, if anything, in the hands of those backbenchers, isn't it, in the 1922 committee. Now, we just don't know how many people are at this stage privately calling for him to go.
No, we don't. 54 is the target. 15% Conservative MPs, 54 write letters demanding a leadership contest. There is one. The half dozen or so names, many more will have written letters, but it may still be far short of the 54. And he's not going to go next week, but he's got a series of points over the next few months that are really, really potentially fatal for him. You've got the Sue Gray inquiry into what happened, the fact-finding inquiry by the civil servant appointed to do that. But after that, you've got a real cost of living crisis coming along. You're going to have energy bills going through the roof in April when the price cap is raised perhaps by as much as £700 for the average householder. You've got tax increases kicking in April when he is raising national insurance for both employees and employers. Then in May, you've got crucial local elections, which at the moment the Conservatives will suffer another drubbing. Because the polls, Anne mentioned 10% there. There was one poll at the weekend showed Labour ahead of 14%. Now, these are huge rises, biggest leads for Labour since 2013. Now, it's worth pointing out, 2013, after that, Labour lost the 2015 election. But the Conservatives have been in office a lot longer. Keir Starmer is now polling higher than Johnson as a preferred Prime Minister. That never happened when Ed Miliband was the leader. And parties in government, well, they just pick up hits over a period of years. The Conservatives have been in now for 12 years. If they've got to try and reinvent themselves again, show they're a party of change, they're fresher, how do you do that? Well, the real way you do that is with a new leader and a new Prime Minister.
Yeah, but as we know, a week is a long time in politics, and they've got, February, March, April before they even have to think about the local elections, I guess. And in that time, I mean, there are also positives to stress, aren't there? Like the fact that we have now clearly a recovering economy, well recovering. He could point to the fact that we are going to probably be one of the first countries to come out of COVID. It's generally thought so. We've had an incredibly successful vaccination programme. Things like that. He could actually brazen this out and recover, couldn't he?
He could do. That is a scenario. You're quite right. All hope is not gone for Boris Johnson. But the rot's been there for about 3 months. 12 long weeks in politics, going back to when he completely mishandled the own Patterson sleaze scandal and thought he could somehow just rewrite the rules and protect somebody who'd taken more than £100,000 for lobbying. Yeah, you're quite right. The economy is now back at pre-COVID levels. That is true. But the very fact you look at the polls, he's getting no credit for that, tells you that people are not listening to him because they feel they've been taken for granted and taken for fools. And people were making incredible sacrifices throughout the pandemic, not being able to see loved ones who were in care homes or who were dying, restrictions on funerals, all sorts of ways we normally live our lives were halted. And the Prime Minister in Downing Street has been running Party Central and then didn't come clean when it was exposed. So those bits of good news and the lifting of COVID restrictions in England would be good news, although let's not forget hundreds of people are still being dying every day from COVID, so we're not entirely out of the pandemic. But the very fact he isn't getting any credit for that tells you that people have now taken against him personally.
OK. Kevin Maguire from The Mirror, great to talk to you this morning. Great to get your perspective on all this. But what about the sort of next generation and moving forward? What do young Tories think? We talked to William Watermeyer, who's chairman of the Manchester Young Conservative Association. Morning to you, William. I mean, what are your thoughts on all of this? Do you still support the Prime Minister?
Morning. Yes, well, I'd say we support the party. I mean, obviously, there's not much support now for Boris, I don't think, amongst young people. Because I think, to be honest, like the rest of the country, they feel let down. Obviously, you've got to remember that students were at the rough end of a lot of these restrictions that were happening. I mean, I've got friends who I know who were threatened with 10k fines. And I mean, if they're getting threatened with £10,000 whilst the Prime Minister's offices are partying, it's not great, is it? So I think students obviously have been on the rough end of the restrictions for a long time. And the fact now that all this is coming out, it just doesn't look very good for the Prime Minister.
Interesting. When you said, I mean, my initial question was, do you support the Prime Minister? And you said, well, I support the party. And it seems pretty clear, forgive me, but from what you've said, that you don't support the Prime Minister. You think it's time for a change at the top?
Yeah, I think it's tricky because obviously, I mean, I campaigned for Boris in 2019 and I wanted him in government, but it just seems to be one thing after another at the moment. I mean, we had all the stuff at the beginning with the Dominic Cummings stuff, we've had the Owen Paterson stuff, we've got this now. It seems to be one thing after another where he just seems to be getting everything wrong. And I think people really do feel let down. And especially here in Manchester in the north, because I mean, we had when the tier system came in, we were immediately put in tier 3, and then we remained in tier 3 until the lockdown happened in the winter of 2020-21. So we've been in lockdown a very, very long time, and then to hear at the same time down in number 10 they were partying, it's not great. And I mean, I think the saddest thing really is because there's a lot of local MPs, especially in the Red Wall constituencies, who work very hard on a local level. But yet they've got, on a national level, they've got these parties happening in number 10. I think that's a shame.
And of course, there's a fallout as well, isn't there? Still, a lot of university students are paying full whack and still not getting face-to-face tuition. And a lot of the universities seem very reluctant to come out of the pandemic situation, don't they?
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, they're moving to what they now call blended learning, which obviously isn't for a lot of universities isn't all in person. I'm quite lucky with my course, and I am all in person. But yeah, like you say, a lot of people aren't like that, and I think they're paying what £9,500 for a Zoom degree, which isn't really fair. And I think it just shows again how students have had the rough end of the stick really when it comes to COVID, and now they're seeing that all these parties have been happening in Downing Street, and it doesn't make them feel very good.
I tell you what, William, one thing which I can pretty much guarantee is that the Prime Minister will get to hear all of this. He may well get shown clips. You may be watching right now. You never know. You're the chairman of a young Conservative association. You're the future of the party if you continue to stick with the Conservative Party.
Need you.
Talk to the Prime Minister right now, from the heart. What would you say? I mean, just address him.
I mean, I think the first thing I'd say is that I think the people he's got around him are just I don't want to say hopeless because that sounds a bit strong, but they are pretty hopeless. I mean, we've had so many things where stuff's gone wrong that's not necessarily the Prime Minister's. I'm not saying it's not the Prime Minister's fault, but a lot of the stuff that's happened around stuff with his secretaries and his aides and stuff is just basically they're just quite inept, it seems. I mean, we had the thing with Owen Paterson where his aides pushed through supporting Owen Paterson, and then they decided to backtrack on that. And then we had the thing with the speech Boris gave to the CBI where he lost all his pages. And to me, obviously, I'd have thought the aides would put numbers on the pages. But it seems to me that the people he's got around him, and obviously we're now the parties, just seems to be pretty hopeless. That's the feeling. So I'd say to Boris, sort that out. Get your affairs in order because it's not on. You're supposed to be running the country.
In other words, you're saying be a better boss, be a better leader. So it is a criticism of him, isn't it? His aides may be sloppy, but whose fault is that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, the buck stops with Boris, doesn't it? I mean, he is the one who's in charge of these people. He should be the one controlling them and making sure that things like this aren't happening. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, especially on social media, talking about people saying, oh, this wouldn't have happened under Thatcher. And I mean, obviously, we're talking hypotheticals, but I don't think this sort of thing would have happened under Thatcher. Because I think under Thatcher's government and even in the Cameron government and governments like that, the buck stopped with the Prime Minister. Whereas I feel like with this Prime Minister, it's... I don't want to use the word sleaze because of what the connotations that holds, but it's sloppy government and it's not straight down the middle, yeah.
I mean, in terms of of what happens for the party moving forward then, I mean, either he hangs on or he resigns or he gets, in effect, booted out by his own backbenchers. Now, I mean, if he gets booted out, if there's a leadership battle triggered through the 1922 committee, I mean that's not good for well, it's not good for Boris, but I mean it's not good for any sort of legacy, is it?
No, I think that's for Boris. That'll be a shame because obviously he came in to when he came to power. Everyone was calling it his Dunkirk moment, weren't they? They were saying that he would be the same as Churchill in when he came into power, but with Brexit, and he would sort out Brexit. And I feel like now that reputation that he had of being the person that came in after Theresa May and sorted everything out has just been tarnished. And like you say, his reputation going forward and his legacy has been ruined, really. I think also it's worth remembering that...
Just briefly then, would it be better to resign?
I'm not sure because I think that there's a long time until the next general election, and I think he has got time to prove himself to be a more able leader and a better leader. But I mean, if that's the feeling, if the feeling on the backbenches is strong enough, obviously he will go, won't he? And I think at the end of the day, the Conservative Party's there to win. There's no point being in government. There's no point being a party if you can't win anything. And I think that's why people like Boris to begin with. I think that's why he was so successful when he was being elected by the Conservative MPs in the first place, because the Conservative Party has to win. But obviously now we're seeing polls where he's 10 percentage points behind. He could not win the next general election. And obviously the most important part about being a party, really, is staying in power, because you can't do anything without power, can you? I think I saw in the same poll. I saw in the same poll that there was a 10% lead, that 70% of people think Boris should resign. I mean, if you've got 70% of people thinking that you should resign, your position is pretty untenable as an election contender, isn't it?
Until things change again, I guess.
Yeah, it's really interesting to talk to and to get your perspective, William Watermeyer from Manchester Young Conservatives. Thank you.
And that's the dilemma, isn't it, facing the Conservative backbenchers, the 1922 committee, is if they want to win another election, do they stick with Boris even though at the moment he's dodgy, or do they go with somebody else who actually may not have the charisma and the showbiz appeal that Boris has?
Difficult.
Interesting, isn't it?
Let us know what you think.
Absolutely. We're after your views.
We are. GBviews at gbnews.uk. You can tweet us at GBnews.
In fact, our reporters have been speaking to people outside the Westminster bubble, if you like, about Partygate. And earlier this week, a Conservative association in Sutton Coldfield, West Midlands, voted unanimously to withdraw its support for Boris Johnson.
Our West Midlands reporter Balvinder Sidhu has been to the town to speak to people who live there. Really, Balvinder, what do people make of what's going on in Number 10?
Well, in the town of Sutton Coldfield on Thursday night, the senior members of the Conservative Party Association met for a curry. And over that curry, they talked about their feelings and frustrations regarding recent events, that allegations around parties that have been coming around, and also Boris Johnson. So they unanimously withdrew their support for the Prime Minister. So I went out to the town and spoke to people, the constituents, because this area is a true blue seat. It's been Conservative for many years. The local MP there is Andrew Mitchell, and I have to admit their response to whether he should resign or not is mixed. But the one thing they did agree on is that Partygate is wrong, and it was bad to do that.
I think the garden party was just shocking because he spent 25 minutes there and he knew that was a party. Because there was alcohol involved, so I think that's really, really bad. But the problem is he's done such a good job on everything else. So do we forgive him or do we sack him?
I think he's put himself in a very difficult position. I think that if at the outset he had admitted to these parties, it would have been done and dusted probably within a week. I think he's now in a very, very awkward situation, and possibly will go by May when the next set of elections take place locally. I think if it's a bad result, he's going to be in real trouble then.
An open and honest conversation and take it from there.
Do you think he should resign?
I haven't got a view.
I think what he's done, he's totally wrong, but I don't think he should go because he's done so much good as well. The injections, I think the rollout of that went really smoothly as soon as our country's come out of it on top.
I think he should go, yes.
Why do you think he should go?
Because he's let everybody down.
Yeah, I do think he should go. I do want he should go. He's done wrong, he should go. He's hiding all the time, secrets, lies.
We followed the rules, didn't we? And they obviously didn't. One rule for them, one rule for us.
Brilliant, isn't it, to hear from you? GBviews at gbnews.uk. Get in touch. And do stay with us because we have plenty more to come, including, is there a cold snap ahead? Apparently there is. We'll find out after this.
Let's have a look at the weather for you. The UK is looking like a mixed picture, a band of rain moving across the country. So in the details, southwest England seeing a few showers this morning, some sunny spells developing. A bit on the mild side, though, double figures for most. For the southeast of England, variable cloud. There could be the odd light shower, but most places are dry. Temperatures around average, light winds. Cloud and rain continuing to move southwards and across Wales, though perhaps Cardiff should be dry until we approach early afternoon. The temperatures there about 10 Celsius. Heading to the Midlands then, and after a bright morning, cloud and rain slowly moving in from the north as we approach midday. A little bit cooler, temperatures of about 7. That weather front will clear northern England, allowing the skies to brighten. Plenty of sunshine by lunchtime, but then a chilly northerly breeze. Highs of 7 towards the coast. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers for northern parts of Scotland as well today. Elsewhere across the country, dry, plenty of sunshine. Temperatures in Edinburgh just topping at 6. Northern Ireland will see plenty of blue skies, some cloud drifting through, but it will be dry, a chilly feel to the air with temperatures of 7. For this evening, the cloud and rain will clear south, turning colder, a frost developing not long after dark.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 8:26.
Love your views coming through. Just got to go through this one from Sam. It sums it up, I think. I think Boris should be sacked, says Sam. And also, I don't want him to be sacked. But he had parties while we had restrictions. That's a lot of people, though, can't quite work it out.
Absolutely. I bet a lot of people want to blame him, and if they were sat next to him at dinner or something, they would actually have a go at him, but don't necessarily want him to be sacked. Because what's the alternative, I think?
Yeah. Now, if you're watching on the TV, you probably enjoy the last weather forecast. If you're out and about listening to us on the radio, well, you can see what's going on. Some forecasters say, though, the coldest part of the winter has yet to come. We could have a cold snap towards the end of the month.
Oh, yes, that means dangerous driving and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll stay in, I'll hibernate, I think, if it's going to be that bad. Yeah. Shall we find out, though, whether there's any truth in it? Because they always talk. We talk about the weather too much, I suppose, don't we?
No.
No. We love talking about the weather, don't we?
Much
I
weather,
know, isn't it weird? Shall we talk to the legendary weatherman, John Ketley, who joins us now? Oh, how lovely to see you, John.
Thank you very much, Anne, to you, Anne. Yes, and Stephen, of course.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you are an absolute legend. So everything you say, we will absolutely believe. Is there going to be a cold snap? Right. Is there going to be snow generally?
No. Now I'm going to put a kibosh on that straight away. I think at the moment the jury is very much out because I'm looking at the calendar. It says mid-January. And in Britain, in mid-January onwards, you'd probably expect to get some wintry weather, wouldn't you? And let's face it, it's been pretty cold for several days. We've had such a thing as called anticyclonic gloom sitting over many parts of the UK, so some places have barely got up to freezing. There's been mist and fog and frost, widespread frost, really. So we've already seen a pretty cold snap. The mildest weather last week was over northern Scotland, but now we're all settling down into something a little bit more mundane, should we say. It's a brighter day today, some sunshine around, a little bit of rain. But temperatures today and tomorrow are probably just about above normal for this time of the year. Now, having said all of that, there is some colder weather coming back later in the week, and I think Thursday, Friday could well be the coldest days of the week. But all the time, it's the colder weather crossing northern Europe that's flirting with us. So at this stage, I would never expect to get a really cold snap coming up in the next 2 weeks. There will be colder weather at times, and there will certainly be frosts at night. And there will be some snow showers for the Grampians, probably some snow showers coming down through eastern England as well. Let's say the North York Moors and possibly into Norfolk at times later in this week. But at the moment, there's no beast from the east, but we'll keep our powder dry on that one. We'll keep it under review. Should we say that, Anne?
Well, what about the wind in all of this, though? Because when it gets a little bit chilly, I was out and about yesterday and there was a bit of a breeze, and of course that wind chill factor was terrible.
Yeah, I don't like it when it's raw. If it's a raw wind, temperature's only just above freezing and it's very grey, and it does feel pretty horrible and oppressive. You know, a lot of people suffer from this thing called SAD, a seasonal affective disorder, and that's what I think has been quite appropriate in the past few days with the anticyclonic gloom. It has been very depressing, and now the winds are picking up as well. It doesn't help at all. But it's strange to think, isn't it? It's only just over 2 weeks ago we had the mildest start to a new year ever on record. So New Year's Day was very mild at 16 or so degrees. So it's amazing how the weather in this country can change. It changes at a whim, really. It seems that way. And I know a short time ago you mentioned the fact that you know the weather's probably beautiful down in the Costa del Sol and places like that. A lot of people go down to the Canary Islands at any time of the year because it's pretty reliable. I'm looking at my charts here, and I think it's going to pour down with rain, even in the Canary Islands later on today and through tomorrow. So it doesn't matter where you are. UK, we are very vulnerable. But even in those sort of areas, they can have some heavy rain at times.
You see, that makes me feel really nasty.
Me too. That makes me feel better.
Because I feel better.
Unless you're watching us from there at the moment, in which case, sorry. But that's why at this time of year, when traditionally in Britain it just sort of gets wet and gloomy, as you said, anticyclonic gloom, and that's why we all sort of start to book our holidays around now. So I take it you're already booking yours.
Nothing booked, no, and nothing booked so far. I can't decide whether to go north or go south at the moment, but you'll be the first to know. When we get something booked, I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do, yes. We're fascinated to see whether the legendary weatherman spends his holidays.
Yes, I suppose you could enjoy the weather. You could enjoy the very cold weather if you go up to the Arctic or something, John. That'd be very nice, the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, well, at least you're expecting it there, aren't you? you know what clothing to take.
This is true.
Yeah.
John Kelly, really good to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Still to come for you, we will take you through the papers. Andrew Eborn and Ali Mirage are back. That's in a couple of minutes.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview Channel 236.
On Sky, we're Channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
At 8:34, you are watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on GB News, on your TVs and your radios right across the UK, and on your apps and streaming online, well, just about
on
anywhere
YouTube.
you want to be.
Yeah, you can't get away from it. Us, I was going to say. It's time to go through the papers now, and as we were saying earlier, it's pretty dismal reading. Talk about anticyclonic gloom. I think Boris Johnson and everybody else in number 10 and 11 will probably be thinking about that if they look at the papers. But joining us to have a look further is futurist and broadcaster Andrew Eborn and financier Ali Miraj. Good morning to you, both of you.
Good morning to you.
Have you got anything a bit more positive?
I've got something really positive, because you're right, it's all doom and gloom and predictable, as indeed we predicted. What I love is that, as a futurist, as you know, my job is to
Hold on.
Go on, then.
What is a futurist?
Basically, we look... People always say history repeats itself, and I say the reason history repeats itself is because we never learn the lessons from history. So what we do, we look at patterns in history and see what could happen. So in the same way I talked about the pandemic and talked about with GB News, we talked about the 1918 wrongly called Spanish flu and the pattern that went with that sort of side. And it was wrongly called because King Alfonso XIII in Spain caught it early on.
I knew we'd get him into this programme somehow. King Alfonso XIII.
Do you remember him?
Yeah, absolutely. Very popular figure.
But it's all about that sort of stuff and the way that pandemics follow. Look at history, because you can work out what's going to happen. And you can also work out how media covers it. So this is what I was saying about Boris Johnson and what he should do. Shine the spotlight on everything, because it's not necessarily the event that causes the problem.
No, it's the
cover-up. And you look at that throughout history. Look at the great movie Wag the Dog. Do you remember Wag the Dog? Which is basically all about... Robert De Niro was in it. Dustin Hoffman was in it.
It was about just this sort of thing.
Exactly this sort of thing. Well, basically, you have a distraction. And the distraction... So there was a sex scandal by basically a president of... That never happens, does it? And what happened? They faked a war. Basically, they created it in a Hollywood. Check it out. It's called Wag the Dog.
It's very good.
It's brilliant. You will love it. What I was going to talk about, though, was the changing language that we have. And this, I will tell you, is going to be the year when we found basically the stereotypes of older people. So we spoke last year about one of the words of the year was NFT, non-fungible token, which people never heard of. Zoom, nobody ever heard of beforehand.
WFH.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
Somebody used that on a text to me the other day, and I thought, is that rude? I was mixing it up with something else. And then I had to look it up. I had to actually Google it to find out what it means.
It's probably just a typo.
It might have been you.
You've got IHA as well.
IHA?
I hate acronyms.
Oh.
We're here all week. What I was going to tell you, though, the way that language is changing, queenagers is going to be a new word. It's basically an older lady who's busy and enjoys life, having fun. There's also going to be, to celebrate, silvfluencers, which are silver influencers.
Yes, quite right.
So it's all about that. And the stories at the moment, there's some lovely stories about people who are slightly older. So the oldest tortoise ever has been honoured this week. In St Helena, is Jonathan the giant tortoise is 190.
Where? On the Galapagos?
Yes, isn't that good? So lovely tortoise, the oldest one ever. There's also, what I love this story, 97-year-old Ruth Slenzinska is the last living pupil of Sergei Rachmaninoff. She's just signed a new record deal with Decca, and that record is coming out, My Life in Music. And she was
taught by Rachmaninoff.
She was taught by him.
Wow.
And also, if you look at the pictures of her, which is lovely, she wears a little Fabergé egg round her neck, and that was given to her by Rachmaninoff.
Oh, my God.
What I love about her as well, she did a Mozart duet, with President Harry Truman. Come on.
Oh, good stuff.
She's been
We have to get her on the programme.
She would love that. And
She'd love to come on, wouldn't she?
97 years old. She'd come with her parents.
Yeah.
They'll drive her. It's going to be good.
Ali, what have you got for us this morning?
Well, I was just going to say the silver influencers point. I felt a bit sidelined there, because, I mean, I'm bald, right? So, I mean, is this baldest? I mean, what the hell? What on earth is going on here?
You've just got to think of an acronym for yourself.
Exactly. So I've got Trump begins 2024 push with Arizona rally. So Trump is far from down and out. He's planning his political comeback. And with Biden barely up in the popularity polls than where Trump was at this point, Biden's not doing too well at all. We know Biden's now in his late 70s. He's not really cut it with the American public. He's got midterm elections coming up. He's managed, to be fair to Biden, to get this $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill through the House. But still, it's far short of what he wanted to do. I mean, he was looking to be the next Franklin D. Roosevelt. with a massive multi-billion-dollar program, but it didn't work. So I think at the moment it looks like Trump could come back. And you've got to remember that 60% of Republican voters themselves still believe that election was stolen. So that's a situation.
But what about within the GOP, the Republican Party? Is there an appetite still for Donald Trump, or do they want to sort of get their party back? Because he did take it over in it.
They haven't got anyone
they're not
better,
showing any
have they?
sign. That's the problem. Like Mitch McConnell and all these, they sort of still. I thought that it might change, Stephen, to your point, after the Capitol riots, which Biden was very strong on just recently, saying that this was a complete disgrace and that Trump puts his own ego ahead of protection of democracy. I thought it might change amongst the Republican Party, and there were a few people who did vote for impeachment, but not many. And they're all sort of silenced by their absence, really. I mean, it's really a difficult situation. It looks like any of these people standing in the midterms still have to go and get endorsed by Donald Trump, even though he's not on Twitter.
And you must remember, actually, and people always dismiss Trump, he got over more than any sitting president ever in terms of the votes. It's over 70 million in terms of that sort of stuff. As I predicted, we talk about futurist, he has launched Trump Social, or Truth Social is what it's called, his own media platform. I was hoping he would go for TNN, Trump News Network. See, but no, it's all in there. I mentioned that sort of stuff. You have not seen the last of Donald Trump. I loved the interview with Nigel on GBNews, which was great. And Nigel made a really good point. He said, look, move on from talking about the last election. Talk about the positive things going forward.
Yeah, stop looking back all the time.
What I love about Joe Biden, he's the best anagram, because Joe Biden is be joined. And in this divided world, that should have been his campaign slogan.
Yeah, that's a very good idea, actually. But anyway, he won.
It doesn't help him be Mr. Charisma, does it?
No, charisma bypass.
Yeah, exactly. And he's up against Trump, who is brilliant.
Oh, he's a fantastic showman. And people want showmen in the same way as they want Boris.
Yeah.
You turn around on that sort of basis.
But that seems to be wrong. Don't you think, Ali, the fact that we are voting for showmen and not for serious politicians?
Well, it's not only that, but there is a tendency of not only showmen, but strongmen. And there's an article, a piece in the Observer about Ukraine, which is a serious issue. We're talking about parties here, which obviously has captured the public mood and is a problem for us. But further afield, Russia's amassed 100 troops on the border with Ukraine. There have been various discussions going on all of last week with the EU, with the US, with the Organisation of Security and Cooperation in Europe. None of these things are really leading anywhere positive. And it looks like at the moment that actors, designers and IT workers in Ukraine are ready to pick up arms to defend themselves against the Russians. And this is a serious problem. We know that Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014 to take Crimea, so it's got form on this. But the Russians would argue that they do not want Ukraine to be part of NATO right on their border. So a very difficult situation is going to play out. But what it shows is that despite all the issues that we're sort of focusing on here, there are some serious geopolitical tensions. We haven't even got to China yet. So this is going to play out, this Russian story, Russia-Ukraine, in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. And we've got British troops out there, of course.
Yeah, lots of people are really worried about it.
The Ukrainian army. Look, good to see you both this morning.
Yeah, and as a way of saying goodbye, can I just show this again, see if we can get a close-up on it? Because this amazing picture on the front page of the Sunday Times shows that volcano that erupted under the sea just off Tonga. I'm just trying to get there. Can you see it? That you can actually see that little chrysanthemum-shaped thing there.
If you're on the radio this morning, obviously you can't.
Sorry about this.
But it is quite an extraordinary thing to see something from space.
From space, it's erupted there, and I'm pointing the wrong way here. And that's Australia. Isn't that incredible? What you can see.
And as I
said,
the eruption. If you move it over to Australia, that's what's just happened with Djokovic as well. It is an extraordinary picture.
Incredible picture.
Andrew Eborn, Ali Mirage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Brilliant.
much indeed. So we've been asking for your views on the Prime Minister, and we thought we'd include the good people of Northern Ireland in our discussion. So we sent Doogie Beattie out and about.
No, I don't think so, to be honest with you. To me, it wasn't a party. What would you call a party?
And what about the difference between him and the Queen sitting?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, the Queen was very respectful sitting.
Yes, but them other people that had that party, to me, were the civil servants. Boris wasn't there. The Boris know about it. I mean, you can't blame Boris for that.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
No, better than that, the whole friggin' lot should stop talking about the party they had. That's a couple of months ago. Let's talk about the coronavirus. Let's talk about doing something for the public. What he was eating and drinking doesn't give a damn to anyways.
And how disrespectful do you think it was beside the Queen, the image of her and the night before they were having the party?
Sorry?
The night before Prince Philip was buried, they were having another party in Westminster.
I know, but Prince Philip was buried anyway, whether they were having a party or not. That's making issues about nothing, really. You know, Prince Philip's dead and gone, and the Queen, she'll miss him more than anybody. And she is one wonderful wee woman. I think she's the best wee woman in the world, and the only royal that's kept herself clean and perfect. She's an example to all of them. And what she is, the head of the Church of England, she has never let the church down. Perfection is what she is. I love her dearly.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
I think he's just made far too many mistakes and he's just making an idiot of himself, basically.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Because he's lied to the people. And he shouldn't do that. And other people's parents have died and had to go through that alone, and he's at a party. So, yeah, I think he should resign.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Because he's just not going anywhere at this stage. He's just he just seems to be falling into one thing to the other.
Do you think Boris Johnson should resign?
Yes.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Because he's told that many lies to the general public. If you can't trust the government, who can you trust? Our politicians are bad enough. You know? So, no, a no for me.
Boris Johnson, do you think he should resign?
He's a dead man walking, only he doesn't know it yet.
You think so?
Yes.
Why do you think he should resign?
Well, that's too long. That's as long as your arm.
I think he should resign. Yeah, and the reason being, he's expecting everybody else to follow rules and guidelines, which he tells us what we have to do, but then blatantly turns around and they do their own thing. And like to say he thought it was a business meeting, I never known a Prime Minister to take their wife to a business meeting. You know, lies and goddamn lies, that's all it is.
Well, there you are. Those are your views. Thank you very much for them. Got lots coming in, actually. Alison says, does anyone actually expect politicians to uphold any sort of moral standards anymore? All of these apologies are pathetic. They're not sorry. They're sorry they've been caught.
Matt, though, says, I think Boris and the government have done a great job in difficult times. 100% think he should stay. The good far outweighs the bad, in my opinion.
Oh, this is a nice one, though. Nothing to do with that. Monica says, thank you for being here for us on a Saturday and Sunday morning. We are pensioners and we like to sit in bed in the mornings with our cuppa from 6 a.m. to watch your programme. Monica, that's lovely.
That is really nice, actually. Just to keep you company, why not?
Yeah, nice to watch.
You sat in bed with your cups of tea.
I know.
Sounds lovely.
It does sound lovely.
You do the show from bed with a cup of tea.
Well, we could sit in bed and watch with a cup of tea to watch Eamon and Isabel during the week, can't we? So, not that I do, but I would like to. Not that I do watch. I'm in trouble now. I do watch. I just don't sit in my bed and watch because I don't have a TV in the bedroom. There's another interesting one. Do you have a TV in the bedroom?
Yes, yeah, I do. Yeah.
I don't at all.
I like it.
I take my laptop instead. Joining us now to take us through some of the biggest stories, I'll change the subject quickly before I get into trouble, from the world of show business, is our entertainment reporter and friend of the show, Stephanie.
Morning.
You've got a TV in your bedroom?
Yes, I do. I actually sleep with my TV on. I find it hard to sleep
you're
without
not meant
the
to do
TV.
that.
I can't do it. I've tried many times and it just doesn't work. The TV just helps me sleep, but now I've got a thing where it turns off by itself after 2 hours, or it would be on the whole night.
Well, pop Dancing on Ice on, because that'll send you straight
to sleep.
It will do, definitely. January's always a bit of a lull for what's on TV, but Dancing on Ice is coming back tonight. It's going to have regular faces such as Holly Willoughby, Philip Schofield, and then we're getting a new judge on today, which is going to be Oti Mabutsi from Strictly. So it'll be interesting. People are trying to say that she might be leaving Strictly to take a permanent role in such shows. We've got 12 new celebrities who will be taking to the ice, including Rachel Stevens. We've got Mark Berry from the Happy Mondays, and he was the first contestant this week who's actually had a bit of an injury.
Well, this happens already.
Yeah.
This happens every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, last year was a disaster because they had about 3 celebrities who had to pull out, like Denise Van Outen, Jason Donovan. So we're hoping that this series will not be as...
But they ask such a lot of them.
They do.
It's really hard what they have to do.
But they get paid for it. They're getting paid anywhere between £20,000 and £100,000. But it's not worth the injury, of course. But they are getting a nice, pretty paycheck to be in it.
Sprained ankle for 100 grand.
Yeah, but you have to lift people and twirl up in the air. And I mean, it's incredible what they do.
Oh.
It's not just twirling, you're going round and round, is it?
Strictly's OK because it's not on ice, but this is on ice. So, like, what happened to Mount Berry earlier this week, he literally knocked on the ice and then his helmet came off. It just looked really gruesome. So I do think it's the most risky show of the bunch.
I do as well.
Yeah.
Well, apart from the dive, or was it the... Yeah, no, what was the one that they did the ski slope?
I saw that one.
The something.
And
it was...
I don't know. I can't stay upright on ice. So
Would you go on the show, Anne?
No.
The invitation game?
No, I have had to go at ice skating. I used to take my kids, and literally just going round and round and holding onto the edge is as far as I could ever go. Because that ice looks hard.
Yeah.
It's very... I tell you what is increasingly hard work, which breaks my heart, is watching Doctor Who. It just hasn't worked with Jodie Whittaker. I hate to say it.
No.
Because I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
But if you want to meet her...
Yep, you have to pay £220 next month to meet her at London's Comic Con convention. So for £220, you will get a picture with her, a signed autograph and a dog tag.
Dog tag?
Yeah, a dog tag. Would you pay?
No,
you pay $220?
I'd pay that to... If it was Tom Baker, I'd pay it. Jodie Whittaker?
I thought if you went to Comic Cons, you just sort of queued up and met them. I didn't know you had to pay for the privilege.
You've got to pay.
There's a price of fame, and to be honest, that's not a bad price tag. Someone like Wayne Rooney this week came out and said that he will charge £450 for a VIP meet and greet. Dua Lipa, the pop star, is charging £1,842 to meet her in a VIP at her tour. So the prices are quite a lot.
You can meet me for £2.50.
We're going to go to a Comic-Con, but we weren't going to actually charge, were we? No, we were going to probably pay to go.
Well, maybe you guys can blag it to see Jodie. Just say you're a part of GBNews and that should be fine for you
don't
guys.
Want to. You wouldn't queue up, really,
I'm
would
sorry,
you?
no, and it's nothing against her personally, but the way it's been written and produced, it just hasn't worked. It hasn't worked.
Well, hopefully the next one will be a good one.
Well, who knows? They still haven't said, have they?
We're going to have to wait.
That'll be a big announcement. Film producers are planning a new Harry Potter film.
Yeah, I hate the word woke, but Harry Potter is having a woke makeover in the US. US film producers are planning to do a web series, but the characters are going to be non-binary or transgender. And they've said characters...
Well, all of them?
Most of them. And they're saying...
That sounds a bit like hard work.
It is. And they're saying they put out a call for characters like James Potter cannot be played by a white person. They said it has to be someone who's from an ethnic background or transgender. The thing with this, though, we do feel like these producers may be facing a nasty lawsuit because they haven't actually asked J.K. Rowling for permission to do it.
And I would imagine they would have to.
Yeah.
She keeps very tight control of everything Harry Potter.
I think they're going to try corner her in because obviously J.K.'s been facing all this controversy about her opinions on transgender women. So if she was to come out and say, you guys can't do it, I think it's going to even add more fuel to the fire on the controversy she's facing towards transgender people. So they might know what they're doing with this one.
She doesn't shy away from being controversial, though. She doesn't seem to mind taking it on.
No, she doesn't. I tell you what, stay there, Stephanie.
Yep, sure.
Because I want to bring in Aidan with all the swap. Morning. You're stuck on. I'm good. But there's a lot of concern about disruption to football because of, especially in London derby, because of COVID and.
Yeah, I mean, it was petitioned earlier in the week that Arsenal would be expected to have their North London derby postponed today at White Hart Lane. I don't think it's based on form. I mean, Tottenham were not exactly pulling up trees. Arsenal have been doing quite well of late, but it's just so convenient they haven't got midfield at the moment, and yet they're petitioning to postpone this game, and it was approved yesterday. And Tottenham released a statement yesterday morning announcing their disgust at the decision, basically. I mean, I suppose you could say, well, it's Tottenham, they're rivals with Arsenal, they're not going to exactly put a statement out saying it was a really great idea. It poses more disruption to Tottenham as well. They've already suffered from postponements. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I mean, you look at the table now. I mean, Burnley are now bottom of the league almost by default because they've had so many games postponed. They've now got 4 games in hand over some of the up to 4 games in hand over the teams above them. And that's not an advantage, as I've said previous times, on numerous occasions. It's not an advantage having 4 games in hand when you've already got a busy schedule and you're having to cram in these games. You know, you're asking Burnley, everyone's saying, oh, yeah, what if Burnley win all their games? Well, that's highly unlikely. If you impose that schedule on somebody, Burnley are not a club who can weather the storm in terms of their resources. And we talked about Manchester City earlier on. They weathered the storm better than everybody else because they have more players than everybody else and they've spent more money. That's not the case with Burnley. And you're having this discrepancy throughout the league of teams having played 21 games or 25 games. The whole schedule is meant to be mapped out throughout the season so that everyone can play roughly the same throughout the campaign, and it's not working out at the moment. And maybe they should have had a circuit break around Christmas just to maintain the homogeneity throughout the league. But at the moment, it's not playing out well.
No.
What about the cricket? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the print editions of the papers in front of me. It just shows how outmoded they are these days. And I speak as a proud ex-newspaper man, but everything's happening in Australia with Djokovic and the cricket. They just cannot keep up. There's nothing really about it much in the paper. England have been set a target of 271 by Australia. It's not the biggest total you could ever see, but there's no evidence, or there has been no evidence in the previous 4 tests that England can chase that down. It's going to take a monumental effort from the captain, Joe Root, or Ben Stokes, who are both superhuman batsmen, but they're going to need more than that. Even if they play well, it's going to be a hard task taking that or chasing down that total. And once again, the problem is not the bowlers, it's the batsmen. They're just not performing. They haven't done throughout the series. There's going to be 18 months of soul-searching now until the next Ashes tour in England. England have to get that one right, and that could involve the removal of the captain and the coach, Chris Silverwood.
Just a very quick look at Man United refusing a signing.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not. I don't think it's so much about that. Refusing a sign, I don't know. That one might escape me, but no, it's. I mean, look, the issue around. I wouldn't say refusing a signing. I think it's more the case that Ralph Rangnick wants to be backed in the transfer market because he's in an interim role.
Right.
He has. He's beginning to question whether he's been told he has to get them into the top 4 with the squad he inherited, and this is the problem when you introduce Stephen. Interim managers, the players think, well, he's only there to the end of the season. Yes, he might have a say over who takes over, but at the moment they're not exactly doing that well. I mean, they were 2-0 up yesterday, 15 minutes to go at Aston Villa. They haven't lost there in 27 years, and they managed to draw the game 2-2. And it's what Roy Keane talks about, personality, getting the job done. The old Man United sides would have gone 2-0 up with 15 minutes to go, and they would have seen it out. Yesterday, they showed weakness mentally, and they collapsed, and it was 2-2.
OK. Aidan McGee, Stephanie Tetchy, thank you both very much.
Thank you very much. Right, we're nearly at 9 o'clock, but after 9, we're going to hear more reaction to Boris Johnson's scandal-plagued week from the North East. Do stay with us.
OK, looking at the weather forecast then for you, and it's looking like a mixed picture. A band of rain slowly moving across the country, and in the details, southwest England seeing a few showers this morning, some sunny spells developing. It's going to be on the mild side, double figures for most. South East England seeing a bit of cloud. There could be the odd light shower, but most places staying dry. Temperatures around average with light winds. Cloud and rain continuing to move southwards across Wales, perhaps through Cardiff, remaining dry until we approach early afternoon. Temperatures about 10. Over to the Midlands then, and after a bright morning, cloud and rain will move in from the north towards midday. A bit cooler, temperatures of about 7 degrees Celsius. Now, that weather front will clear northern England, allowing the skies to brighten. Plenty of sunshine by lunchtime, but a chilly northerly breeze, highs of 7 towards the coast. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers for northern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere across the country, it's dry with plenty of sunshine. Temperatures in Edinburgh hitting just 6. Northern Ireland seeing plenty of blue skies. Cloud drifting through, but it will remain dry, but a chilly feel to the air, just 7 degrees Celsius. Into this evening, and the cloud and rain will clear south. A bit colder, a frost developing not long after dark.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world. If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning. It's 9 o'clock on Sunday, the 16th of January. And this is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
We are live across the whole of the UK on your TV and your radio, whether you're watching us in Leeds, listening to us in Ipswich, or maybe you're watching us on YouTube in Aberdeen, the Granite City. Beautiful place.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, the Granite City.
Didn't know that.
Gorgeous Aberdeen. Wherever you are, you can just take us with you.
There's no escape. Some of you may also be catching up via the GB News app whilst travelling to work. You could even be a Brit abroad. If so, we're here for you too. Coming up this morning on Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Is Boris out to save his own skin? Suggestions the PM is planning a mass clear-out of number 10 staff. But with Labour now having a 10-point lead over the Conservatives, can we expect a new raft of policies aimed to win over the voters? We've got reporters around the country finding out what you think of the embattled PM.
The Duke of Sussex has applied for a judicial review of a Home Office decision not to allow him to personally pay for police protection for himself and his family when they're in the UK.
And if what's going on here on Earth isn't enough for you, we're going to explore everything space-related as we will play back that incredible interview we did with the first ever mother in space, Anna Lee Fisher, who we talked to from Houston.
And of course, you can join in any of our discussions by emailing gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet @gbnews. One of the things we've been talking about is the energy companies and how energy prices are going to absolutely leap up. We know this, it's going to happen, and I think we're all dreading it. And they were talking about the average household bill would go up by £200-something. But I tell you what, we've had one message in from Andrew. Hello, Andrew. It says, I've just received my renewal for 12 months fixed with Octopus Energy. Our monthly payments will jump from £140 to £410. This is a staggering rise.
You've got to shop around. That can't be right, surely.
Stunning rise. That's monthly. It can't be that, can it? Well, anyway, as Stephen said, that you can shop around now, and that's what you've got to do, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would cost you an extra £3,000 a year, wouldn't it?
Yes,
£300 a month?
Yeah, they were saying the most it could cost anyone is a rise of something like £700. But that is far more than that. So that needs checking and then shopping around, maybe.
Yeah. But, I mean, it is such a concern for so many people, isn't it? The prices jump so much. And the problem is with shopping around, of course, is that you might get a better deal. You're not going to get a deal that is massively cheaper because the prices are going up.
No, because it's going up for everybody. Yeah.
So that's the downside to it all. Keep your thoughts coming through on that and anything else you want to talk about.
Oh, here's a good one. Here's one from Ramona. Hello, Ramona. I've got just one question.
Oh.
Do you have a shop where I can order a GB News coffee mug? I think a few viewers might like to sit in the morning drinking their coffee or tea whilst watching.
Oh, there you go. £5. Yours for a £5.
He's making a fast buck already.
I will. I can pop it in the post to you myself. No, we don't sell these.
No,
but
we should.
Maybe we should.
Well, of course we should.
They're very nice. I've got my friend Luke would love one of these.
We have them personalised. We have one for Eamon and Isabel. We could have one for you and me. And then we could charge even more. No, I don't. I don't think like that. I really don't. But anyway.
Nice. I love our logo and everything.
That's a good point. We will tell the people at the top.
Yes, we
I don't know what they'll do about it, but we'll tell the people at the top. There's a big cupboard of them out there.
A big online shop's not a bad idea, mate.
No, it's a good idea.
There you go.
Yeah, there you are. Anyway, anything you've got to say like that, we would love to hear from you. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Now, it's just 4 minutes past 9, so let's take you through the main news this morning. And it's pretty grim reading, I have to say, for the Prime Minister, as a new opinion poll puts Labour 10 points ahead of the Conservatives, up from 5 points just a week ago.
Yeah, there are currently 6 Tory MPs now calling for Boris Johnson to quit. They're Roger Gale, Andrew Bridgen, Caroline Noakes, Will Wragg, Tim Loughton and Tobias Elwood. They've all given the PM an ultimatum, basically, as well as Douglas Ross, who's an MP and MSP, the leader of the Scottish Conservatives.
Well, the Sunday Times suggests the Prime Minister will attempt to save himself by having a clear-out of Downing Street staff and announce a series of what they're saying are populist measures likely to include a number 10 workplace booze ban to end the drinking culture in Downing Street.
A freeze on the BBC licence fee for 2 years to help the cost of living.
The paper suggests he's likely to hand the military control of the battle to stop illegal immigrants in the Channel.
And we could see the remaining coronavirus restrictions lifted on the 26th of January, although that's for England only.
Yeah, well, let's talk to head of political polling at Opinion, Chris Curtis. Good to see you this morning, Chris. I mean, it's your poll, isn't it, that's putting the Labour Party a clear 10 points ahead. Have we seen a significant shift in the last week?
Yes, yeah. The move we've seen in the past week has been outside what us pollsters call the margin of error. So we've gone, as you say, from about a 5-point Labour lead to a 10-point Labour lead. But I think more significantly, looking at the numbers, is actually not that overall polling lead, but when we ask about Boris Johnson's personal approval ratings. So just a week ago, he had a net approval score of -24. That means that 24% more people said they disapprove of the job he's doing than approve. So it's gone from -24 a week ago to -42 this week. That's his worst ever score by quite some distance. It's the first time we've ever seen Conservative Leave voters, so those who voted Leave in the referendum and Conservative in 2019, it's the first time we've seen them say they disapprove of the job the Prime Minister's doing. And very roughly speaking, these are the kind of numbers that we were seeing for Theresa May in her final days in Downing Street before she was booted out by the Conservative Party. So whichever poll you look at the moment, whichever question is being asked in that poll, the numbers aren't looking particularly good for the Prime Minister.
But, I mean, in your experience, and you'll have seen these things happen, it can change quite suddenly, can't it? Can he turn it around?
Yeah, it can change quite suddenly. And I think also it can change quite suddenly, particularly at the moment. What we're seeing in opinion polling is a lot more volatility than there used to be. So there's basically lots more voters who sit in the middle. They don't necessarily have loyalty towards a political party. They swing with the wind depending on the news stories of the day and what they think of the political leaders. So that does mean we are more likely to see these dramatic ups and downs in supports and approval ratings for the Prime Minister, Conservative vote shares, etc. So that does mean that, you know, despite the fact that it's got particularly bad for the Prime Minister, it should be potentially a little bit easier than it has been for past leaders to bring it back again. The counter argument to that, though, I'd make is, you know, even if he manages to get through the party scandals, there's this big news story, as you were just talking about, to do with energy prices and inflation and cost of living. And that's not a particularly strong area for the Prime Minister politically either. So it's not just the Partygate scandal. There's lots of other stuff on the horizon, which I think is going to make his job particularly difficult.
When we were talking to David Mellor yesterday, he talked about, and he's no real fan of Boris Johnson, but he was talking about him being a sort of rock star Prime Minister. I mean, a lot of public appeal, and particularly when it came to Brexit, that got him through, significantly got him through in 2019. And that played against Keir Starmer, of course, who's been seen as, you know, lacking charisma. Do you get a sense with this that perhaps people are wanting now to turn to a more serious politician? Is that part of the appeal of the Labour Party?
Well, I think it's certainly true that, you know, the public have always seen the Prime Minister as somebody who is, you know, quite likeable, also able to get things done, got Brexit done, got the vaccine rollout done, but not necessarily the kind of person who is trustworthy, not necessarily the kind of person who you'd trust to look after your kids or buy a second-hand car off, let's say. But yeah, that's always been true. But I think those weaknesses that the Prime Minister have been particularly on show over the past couple of months. And that's the reason the shine has started to come off it, because those weaknesses are so strong. I mean, in terms of whether they want to turn to the opposition to the Labour Party, I mean, the polls are now showing Labour clearly ahead. If there were an election tomorrow, Keir Starmer would almost certainly be in Downing Street, probably with a majority of his own. But also, you know, this is potentially a bit of a temporary thing, and there are still quite some critical weaknesses in the Labour Party's brand that they need to get over. They're still not particularly trusted to run the economy, despite the fact that Keir Starmer does look like a sort of sensible, competent grown-up, as you said. And also, while people do think that about Keir Starmer, I think there's also questions in the public's eye about whether he's strong enough for the top job. So I think those two things are something that the Labour Party needs to work on if they want to be confident that they can win a general election and be ahead in the polls, not just when the Conservatives are doing badly, but potentially as we move on from this story as well.
It is amazing the difference in opinions you get, and you just wonder what will prevail. We've had a lot of people emailing in saying Johnson needs to resign immediately, if not, then God help us all. And another one says, your comments, your question, is it time for a change, sounds very biased. I would say to Boris, you're doing a great and genuinely compassionate job. He is for the country. So it could go either way in the next few weeks, couldn't it?
Well, I think it's worth saying that when we look at the public overall in the opinion polls, the number of people in the former group do quite significantly outnumber those in the latter group. But look, Boris Johnson's bounced back before. His popularity has managed to rebound. He is seen as a very different kind of Prime Minister as what we've seen before. He came back last year when things started to look rough for him because he sent kids back to school for a day before closing those schools for the rest of the term. He dragged the Conservative Party from their worst ever polling in 2019 to a landslide victory that December. But I think despite that fact, we do have to remember that these numbers are the worst we've ever seen for him. It's very rare for a Prime Minister to come back from these kind of approval ratings. The last time it was done was Margaret Thatcher in the early 80s. And I think we also have to remember this very difficult cost of living crisis that's on the horizon, which could mean that, if anything, make the situation worse for him. So it's not a good positive outlook at the moment.
No, it's yet another crisis for him, I suppose.
Yeah.
Chris Curtis, thank you very much indeed. Chris is head of political polling at Opinium.
It is interesting, though, to look at how you are divided this morning. Embo says we need to forgive him for his mistakes. He's saved our lives.
And Julia says his workforce had to go into work every day to keep the country running and deal with all of the unexpected events that arose. A drink after work for them, not a problem.
David is from Glasgow and he says, I'm not an SNP supporter, but I think most people in the UK look at Nicola Sturgeon for leadership north of the border as Boris is an embarrassment.
And still on the idea of, number 10 being full of booze, Adrian says, when I worked for an airline, alcohol on the premises was a dismissible offence, regardless of your role in the company and whether consumed or still in the bottle.
Oh. Even if still in the bottle?
Well, I guess for an airline, they've got to be strict, haven't they?
Well, yeah.
And if a bottle is sitting there on top of the cabinet, what do I mean, the cabinet?
Filing cabinet.
That's it. Thank you very much. If a bottle is sitting there, or if one is inside the drawer, temptation is there, isn't it? And if you're an airline, you just cannot allow it, I guess. And if you're number 10, maybe you shouldn't either.
Donkeys years ago, when I started out in this business...
Donkeys?
It's a very long time ago, I used to have a bottle of scotch in my briefcase and you could drink it in the newsroom.
Openly?
Yeah, because I worked through the night at that stage. I was an overnighter. You could drink it in the newsroom. I wasn't on air.
Wait, I was just going to say, were you on air?
No.
No.
Well, there you go. Times have changed. You used to be able to smoke as well in the newsroom.
Yeah, at a certain BBC region where I was first trained in sitting in front of a desk and reading autocue and things like that, presenting, in other words, they used to do a nasty trick of offering to take you out for a meal lunchtime. The programme was in the evening, and getting you a bit sloshed, and then watching you try to do your job in the evening. It's a really nasty initiation ceremony, that was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it was fun at the time. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. It is 9:14. Let's bring you up to date with all the headlines this morning. And Novak Djokovic says he is extremely disappointed but won't appeal deportation after losing his Australian visa battle. The country's Prime Minister welcomed the federal court's unanimous decision, saying it will keep Australians safe. The ruling means the world number one won't be able to defend his Australian Open title when the tournament starts tomorrow.
4 hostages are safe and their captor is dead after a standoff at a synagogue in Texas. He was killed when a SWAT team entered the building following a 10-hour standoff. Must have been terrifying. The suspect had been demanding the release of a Pakistani neuroscientist who was convicted of trying to kill US Army officers in Afghanistan.
The Scottish Government has called for urgent action to reduce energy bills, including a cut in VAT. Ministers in Edinburgh have written to the UK Government saying there should be targeted support for low-income households. They've asked for discussions ahead of an expected increase in the energy price cap in April.
And the tsunami threat around the Pacific from a huge undersea volcanic eruption has begun to recede now. However, the extent of the damage to Tonga remains unclear. The country is largely uncontactable at the moment as telephone and internet links are severed. The volcano erupted on Saturday, triggering warnings of 1.2-metre high waves.
OK, let's get more reaction on Boris Johnson and whether or not he can survive this current scandal. Let's talk to our North East reporter, Rachel Sweeney. Morning to you, Rachel. I mean, obviously some crucial red wall seats that fell to the Conservatives in the last general election. Does that mean that some of the MPs there are very, very sensitive to what their constituents are saying?
Well, I'm here in South Shields today where the MP Emma Lowell-Buck is absolutely furious. In particular, she's angered by the event that was held the night before our Queen buried her husband, Prince Philip. She said that emotive picture really struck a chord with her constituents. But I think right across the North East there is an anger and a disappointment and almost a feeling of helplessness at the sort of do as I say and not as I do attitude, or at least perceived attitude of the current government. And when you talk about these traditional red wall seats, if you think about Hartlepool, that had been a Labour stronghold since 1974. When Jill Mortimer took that seat, there was a 30-foot inflatable of Boris Johnson, if you can picture that, in Hartlepool because people were so optimistic about the government. So there has been a sense of huge letdown. Well, let's hear from Emma Lowell-Buck now, who is the MP for South Shields.
Yeah, if there's one thing that unites us across this country, no matter where you're from, no matter what class you are, it's love for our Queen. For a lot of people, that was the final straw. Parties in number 10, the night before the Duke's funeral, has been absolutely the final straw. And I'm lost for words, like a lot of people are. We've never had such a charlatan as Prime Minister before. And the only way to get rid of this man is by his own MPs putting in the letters to the chair of their party. This man does not have the dignity or self-respect to resign, so they need to get rid of him. It's all good and well Tory MPs being across the airwaves saying we think it's appalling as well, it's a disgrace. Well, put your money where your mouth is. Stop platitudes. Stop with the platitudes. Get your letters in and get rid of him. They know they can do it. They need to get on with it before they allow this man to do more damage.
Well, what Emma said there was very emotive. She's very passionate about this. But we've also heard from Tory MPs in the North East of England about their disappointment. One in particular that really struck me was a statement from Jacob Young, MP for Redcar. Here's his statement. My granddad died without us on the 16th of April 2020. We held his funeral on the 1st of May, where only 10 people attended. It was one of the hardest days of my life and made worse because I didn't hug my mum and dad. I am grateful to the Prime Minister for his apology and his brief explanation. The inquiry should now be allowed to do its work and establish the full facts of what happened. We must never let our loved ones die alone again. People in my region and people right across the UK have made huge sacrifices. We've attended funerals on Zoom. Women have gone through miscarriages alone. It's been incredibly difficult not to hold our family members. I think that right across the region there is a sense of anger, but I think from what I've heard from people here, this is going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, for our Prime Minister Boris Johnson to recover from.
Okay, Rachel, thank you very much indeed. And it is just
Looks
fascinating.
nice and bright and blustery.
It does
there,
look
doesn't
blustery there,
Yeah.
beautiful. But isn't it interesting how it's that momentum building up around the Prime Minister, against the Prime Minister, really, and yet so many of you saying that shouldn't have happened. Brian says the Tories make a huge mistake if they get rid of Boris. Cummings is not going to go away.
Yeah, Matt says, I think Boris and the government has done a great job in a very difficult time. 100% think he should stay. The good far outweighs the bad, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, has there been any criticism of the Prime Minister? Well, yes, there has, but lots of support coming through.
Keep
as
your
well.
views coming in
Yeah.
too. Do stay with us because we have plenty more to come, including tips on how to keep a positive mindset. From Janie Holiday. Stay with us.
OK, looking at the weather for you, and it's a mixed picture, a band of rain moving across the country. So let's have a look at the details. Southwest England seeing a few showers through this morning. Sunny spells developing though, and it's going to be a bit mild, double figures for most. Southeast England seeing variable cloud. There could be the odd light shower. Most places staying dry though. Temperatures around average with light winds. Cloud and rain continue to move southwards across Wales, and perhaps Cardiff staying pretty dry until we approach early afternoon. Temperatures approaching 10 Celsius. For the Midlands, there's a bright morning, cloud and rain slowly moving in from the north as we approach midday. A bit cooler, temperatures of around 7 degrees. The weather front will soon clear northern England, allowing the skies to brighten. Plenty of sunshine by lunchtime, but a chilly northerly breeze. Highs reaching 7 Celsius towards the coast. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers for northern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere across the country, dry with plenty of sunshine. Temperatures in Edinburgh of about 6. On to Northern Ireland then, plenty of blue skies, some cloud drifting through, but it will remain dry. A chilly feel to the air with temperatures of 7 Celsius. Into this evening, and the cloud and rain will clear south. So turning colder, a frost developing not long after dark. That's how your weather's looking today.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview Channel 236.
On Sky, we're Channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Morning to you, it's 9:24. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on your TV and on your radio, and maybe soon in your dishwasher.
Yeah, or in your mug,
Yes.
because we've got an announcement from management here at GB News.
Yes.
Apparently we will have mugs and water bottles on our website soon for sale. But actually, you have been asking for other things
More.
too.
You want more?
Yeah, you want more. You want GB News pins and ties. Tony says, what about a GB News T-shirt? And Donald wants a GB News pint beer glass, like the one Nigel has on Talking Points.
Yeah.
Pints, rather.
Well, why not?
Well, why not?
Actually, I think little pins would be quite nice.
Yes, quite
think that'd be
classy.
quite nice on
yeah.
the suit.
And it would help us, if we sold that, it would help us pay our energy bills, because our energy
they're
bills are going up.
This is terrible. This is shocking.
What we read out earlier about somebody's energy bill going right up must have got you all going straight to the filing cabinet
And having a look,
checking how much your bills are. And this is a bit staggering.
Go on.
Well, Susan says, Octopus is also my energy provider, and my monthly payment's gone up from £80 a month to £154.
That's one heck of a jump. Paul says, I was with Octopus, and the estimate from them goes from £1,735 a year to £3,750.
Honestly, and Karen says, I'm also with Octopus and have received my new tariff from them. Previously, I was paying just under £900 a year. My new tariff is £2,230.
It's a shocking, because what we can't say is how that compares to any others.
No, I'm sure Octopus isn't the only one.
No.
And, maybe it's unfair to keep using them. It's just that obviously reading that out earlier has got everybody who was with Octopus going to check. But maybe whoever you're with, you need to start checking now.
If you are working, if you're an Octopus person, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you this morning. And but say if you get your energy from elsewhere, we would all. It's good to hear
we'd love
how
to know
much
as
yours
well.
are going
Yeah.
up. If you've
It's
had
going to happen everywhere,
anything
isn't it?
through.
I think.
And thank you for the nice people saying nice things, Daniel and Andrew. Like the show.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, very
well, yes, I mean, probably Boris needs it. If you've just looked at your energy bills, you'll need it.
definitely need it.
Yeah, we need help on how to improve our mindset and remain positive. So we thought, let's take an opportunity to talk to our mindset coach, Janie Holiday, who's joining us now to give us her advice on how to stay positive. Hello, Janie.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, my goodness. I mean, there's so much going on, isn't there? I've been watching your show this morning, and it's really difficult, isn't it, not to get stressed and angry and frustrated. So I want to share some tips today on how you can actually really explore your emotions, how you can kind of make peace with them, get that stress off your body, because otherwise it really affects you, and just channeling your energy into something more constructive or indeed positive. So I think the first thing to say is, as at the moment, there's so many negative things going on. We're all going through things from our unique own map of the world. We're going through life from our own perspective, the pandemic. And actually, one of the things that we need to be comfortable with is expressing how we feel. But what sometimes happens is people don't actually know what they're feeling. So my first tip is to really ask yourself what it is you're feeling about, whether it be Downing Street or your energy bills. Break it down. What are the reasons I'm feeling like this? And then I think it's about asking yourself, how does me being stressed or worried or anxious help me out here? Because whenever I'm feeling stressed and frustrated, and I've had lots of that through the pandemic, I'm a single mum of 3, I always push back and ask myself, how does this help? And how can I channel my energy more positively?
Yeah, I mean, but it's interesting, though. I can understand people getting very frustrated with the politics, for example, but I can understand how you say, well, put that to one side, or try to put that to one side. But when it comes to things like energy bills, of course...
I know, if I looked at an energy bill like that, I'd be panicked.
Because you've got to plan how you're going to deal with it. That's something in the future.
Yeah, so some good tips on that. I mean, it's all about what I call moving away from fear. When you're in that place of fear, it just sort of manifests in you. It can build. You know, when you're in that place, you know, you need to shift your focus onto the facts that you need to know so that you can work out what to do. And a really big tip is to actually look at your worst case scenario. And if you start with that and think, okay, if this is going to happen with my energy bills, for example, what will I do? You know, who can I pull to help me? Who can I write to? So you actually channel that fear into facts and action. And then it's always reminding yourself that as human beings, we have the ability to choose different thoughts over other thoughts. So if you're starting the day and you're worried and you're anxious and you're focusing on all of the negatives, it's going to build and build and build, and it's going to affect you physically, emotionally, which will actually make your ability to cope dwindle even further. So wherever possible, a really other good tip is to compartmentalize. You know, when you need to know what it is that you need to do, like, I don't know, put out an hour, everything you can possibly put into that hour, and then try and do something like a bit more positive, a bit more fun, that will balance it out. So you've got that combination of, as I said, that constructive action, and then reminding yourself that you can change how you feel by the thoughts that you have. And we have our ability, like I said, to choose better thoughts over others. It is difficult, it can be work in progress, but we do have the power to change those.
Janie, you'll be seeing these pictures, are you? That we decide, I don't know why we decided to show people sort of doing sort of meditation things. In a way, I mean, I know that can be helpful for some people, but a lot of us see that and think, no, I don't want to sit in a park with my legs crossed, looking like a poser. Does that put people off, sort of really exploring how to be mindful?
Yes, I think it absolutely can. I'm a mindset coach, and you won't get me doing any meditation and sitting in a park, you know, those pictures just showed. I think it's always about reminding ourselves that we're unique human beings. You know, what makes one person feel relaxed, what makes one person cope is completely different. It's always tapping into what can you do that makes you feel better about your life, or maybe makes you feel more balanced. For some people, it's singing at the top of their voice in their kitchen. For other people, it's getting on a bike. For other people, it's watching a fun movie. Self-care doesn't have to be, you know, total zen like sitting in a park, especially at the moment. So little mindset shifts that you can make is what makes you happy, what's important to you, what brings a smile to your face, what makes your soul shine, and just try and do as much of that as you can throughout the week, even if it's just small, 5 or 10 minutes. I love kitchen discos in my house. You know, all of those little things will make you feel better and shift your focus away from that doom and gloom.
That's what we need. Janie, thank you very much indeed. Always good to get your sort of life coaching here on GB News. And if you want to go and sit in a park and be all...
Well, it's up to you if you want to.
You're going to get a wet bottom.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and a chill.
Yeah.
But I'm very good at compartmentalising. I put everything... I'll say, I'm going to be happy today, and I'll put all of that off till Friday.
Yeah.
And then when it comes Friday, I say, Friday's a bad day to do that sort of thing. Put it off till Monday. That's compartmentalising.
Never do today what you can put off till tomorrow.
Exactly,
most of the time.
Great. Well, come up, do stay with us, but coming up, our interview with the first ever mother in space. She's astronaut Anna Lee Fisher. We ask her what it was like to leave planet Earth and what is the future for space travel. Don't go away.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview Channel 236.
On Sky, we're Channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Dan Wootton, join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. It's 9:34 and we're live right across the UK on your TV and on your radio.
Now, there have been some amazing ventures in space in the past few months. The incredible missions into low Earth orbit by Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the intriguing moves there by Richard Branson. And then at Christmas, of course, we all heard about the launch of NASA's James Webb telescope, which is said to be even bigger and better than the amazing Hubble telescope, and is set to look further into deep space, ultimately to look for life out there. They're pretty sure they're going to find it.
Yeah, well, there's got to be something somewhere. We've seen over the past few days how the James Webb has unfolded those giant gold mirrors. It can't start to deliver images yet. It's all done on the infrared, and so it's got to cool down to minus 230 degrees, which is going to take about 3 months. So, how is the space program itself unfolding?
Well, this morning we got to ask someone who really knows. She's Anna-Lee Fisher, who in 1978 was recruited as one of the first women astronauts and the first mother in space, clocking up some 192 hours in space too. Here's what she had to tell us.
Words just leave me. You don't have enough words to explain just how wonderful it is. I'm so excited about all the new things that are happening. Perhaps more people will have the opportunity to get to see that amazing view that we've had the privilege to see. It's really an amazing, almost surreal experience.
And as we said there, you were the first mother in space. And to go up there on your first mission, you had to kiss your little girl goodbye. We just saw that lovely picture. And then you go and sit on what is essentially an enormous explosive. You must have been, even though despite your training, you must have been frightened and worried that you may never see your daughter again.
Well, anyone who certainly sits on the shuttle, I can't speak for some of the more recent rockets, but I think pretty much for any rocket to say that you're not afraid, they're probably not telling you the truth. And certainly I thought over all those things, but space exploration and the honor that I had in being in the first group of women, I never second guessed my decision that I wanted to go into space and be an astronaut. And I also wanted to be a mom. And I guess you just hope that everything's going to work out okay in the end, and trust all those amazing people working on all that hardware to make it as safe as possible.
I mean, the time when you were flying on the shuttle, I mean, it seemed to be like the sort of golden age of space travel, if you like, and things have quietened off. But we are picking up again, aren't we? I mean, what do you make of the Artemis Program?
Oh, I agree with you that there was kind of there's several golden ages, actually. You know, Apollo was an amazing time as well. And I really think the shuttle era was another golden age. And I think now that we're coming on to a very new age, and it's very interesting to see how all of this is going to work out with the Elon Musks and Jeff Bezos and Virgin Galactic. It's very exciting. I think the Artemis program is going to be equally amazing. I mean, we want to go back to the moon now and not just go there and get some specimens of moon rocks, but actually go build a lunar base and live there, learn how to live on another body away from Earth, in preparation, of course, for going to Mars. So I think it's really exciting. If I were given a choice, which era would you choose? It would be really hard. I mean, I love being part of the shuttle program, but to be able to go to the moon and go to Mars, I think people in my group are shocked. When we first were selected, I think we thought by now we would have already been to Mars. So I don't know. They're all exciting. Space exploration is exciting. Just being a part of it and the teamwork and everything is amazing. So each program has its pluses and minuses.
Working on the Orion spacecraft, haven't you? Which is the one that will hopefully take us to Mars. And you've been developing things all the way along the line. Obviously, as an astronaut, your mission was to go up into space. But I know we saw a lovely picture of you earlier with the first intake of female astronauts. And you were alongside this enormous spacesuit that was clearly a man's spacesuit. And you had to actually design spacesuits for smaller people.
Well, I was involved in testing, trying to find a spacesuit to actually get the shuttle spacesuit, because that design was so far along at that point that we could not have really changed it. To get it to fit someone smaller like me, we weren't really successful with that, but we're now in the process of a new suit design, and I'm very hopeful that the next suit will allow the smaller people and also the extra large suit. Originally, the shuttle suit was going to be extra small to extra large. Eventually, they found that that was pretty difficult and also extremely expensive. So they decided that if you wanted to do a spacewalk, you had to fit in the medium or the large suit. But we're in the process now of the next generation suit, and hopefully this time we'll be able to find one to fit the smaller people like me.
I mean, in terms of, of developing all these areas of space travel, whether it's the rockets or the suits or all the technology involved, how important is it? I mean, has it made a difference that things have obviously shifted away from NASA to the private sector to a certain degree? Has that changed the pace of development?
Well, it's definitely different. I must admit that I'm surprised when I first heard, that Elon Musk was coming up with his concept of SpaceX, say about 10 years ago. I was extremely doubtful that that would be successful. And when NASA picked the two contenders, Boeing with their Starliner and SpaceX with their Dragon, to be the next generation to take astronauts to the space station, I think I would have put all my money on Boeing and certainly not on SpaceX, but I was wrong. SpaceX has very much surprised me, and I think all of us. And so I think just bringing in other ideas, other companies, I think everybody is excited about going into space, and we can maybe, just like when we did our partnership with the Russians for the International Space Station. We learned many things from them and they from us. And I think the same thing is happening now with our commercial partners, that we're benefiting from learning different ways. I think SpaceX is benefiting from working with NASA and learning about some of our very strong attention to detail. And I think we're perhaps learning from them about other ways of doing things perhaps quicker. So I think it's a beneficial relationship, and I'm really excited by how the program is progressing now, and how right now we're on Crew 3 that's on board the International Space Station, and they were able to do that in the middle of COVID, to have the first manned launch on SpaceX. So I'm very impressed with how NASA and our commercial partners are working together.
Yeah, it must be very encouraging for you, because I know at one point, there was one time I think you said in an interview when somebody asked you, what should a would-be astronaut do? And you said, learn how to speak Russian, which gave everybody the impression that you were frankly, worried that, NASA wasn't doing as well as it used to. But suddenly, we're hearing so much more coming from America now. And Europe.
Well, that comment was based on the fact that for almost a decade, we launched on a Russian Soyuz. And so, you know, if you're going to be launching on a Soyuz, you want to be able to speak Russian well. So that was the basis of that comment. But no, I am so proud that we are now launching astronauts from U.S. soil. But we continue to also fly on the Soyuz and be with our partners on the International Space Station. So the comment about learning Russian is still probably a valid one, but I'm very proud that we're now able to launch from U.S. soil, U.S. astronauts from U.S. soil.
It is such a treat to be able to talk to someone who has been to space.
You can't quite get over it, can you,
No.
really? You just sort of pinch yourself. That person has been up into space, floating around, doing EVAs and looking down at Earth. Oh, incredible.
It is wonderful. It's such a wonderful thing. It really, really excites me. She was a joy to talk to.
She was. Thank you, Anna.
It is 9:44. Let's go through some of the biggest stories from the world of showbiz with entertainment reporter and, of course, friend of the show, Stephanie Tetchy. Good morning.
Hello, morning.
So what's the goss? What's the showbiz goss?
What's the goss? OK, so tonight, if anyone's looking for anything to watch on TV, it's going to be Dancing on Ice. It's coming back at 6:30 on ITV. So we're going to have 12 fresh faces, hopefully injury-free, are going to be taken to the ice. Some of the names include Brendan Cole, Rachel Stevens, Kimberly Wyatt. So they're going to be competing to be crowned winner. Obviously, this show has been plagued with injuries in the last series. Last series, we had about 3 people who were taken off. Jason Donovan, Denise Van Outen. So we're hoping that this series will be safe and secure for the celebrities.
You think of somebody like Denise Van Outen, who is incredible. If you've ever watched her on the West End in Cabaret or whatever it was, and she is just brilliant. She is so lithe and fit already. Yeah. But it only takes one fall on ice to go wrong, and then you're out.
It does. I think, you know, when we're watching it, we're like, oh, it looks easy, but it's actually quite hard work. And even in rehearsals, they're prone to injury, and they're on ice, and they're doing all these incredible, you know, dance routines, and it's quite a bit risky.
And the show itself has matured, hasn't it? Because when they first started out, the celebrities were just whizzing round a couple of times.
Well,
now they have to do the full. No, they have to do the full works.
Yeah, and you know, and there's no limits. Like we've got Sally Denover from Carnation Street, who's the oldest contestant, and she's like, she wants to be an inspiration to older women to say you can do it.
How old is she?
She's 58. She's not even that old.
No, that's not old.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to get on that. Thank you very much. She must be fit.
Well, will you were crossing this chair round? It'll slide on the ice.
I'm going to fall off this chair. That's dangerous enough.
That'd work. That'd work. Now,
yes.
There's a talk of a new biopic coming out, isn't there?
Yeah.
About Madge.
Madge. I'm surprised it hasn't come out before, to be honest, because we've had so many biopics recently, like Bohemian Rhapsody, Elton John's one, but now Madonna's confirmed that there will be a biopic on her life. And the person who's in the running to star is her daughter, Lourdes.
Right.
They look alike, they're quite similar, but I don't know how it's actually going to come across.
I know. Does that suggest it's just going to be, oh, isn't she wonderful, oh, isn't she fantastic? Or is it going to be gritty? I suppose she wouldn't mind.
I think it will be a mixture too, because who knows your mother's story better than the daughter?
But who wants to play your
you
mother's
I
story?
know.
What about all the sort of dodgy...
Well, that's...
Like the dodgy book and all that? Would you really want your daughter to be...
No, and also, I don't know how much acting experience Lourdes has had. You know, celebrity kids, they're always doing the catwalks, fair enough. But to do a biopic on your mother, who is like one of the greatest pop stars of all time...
She's a great subject for a biopic, but I'm not sure whether she should pick her daughter to play.
There's other names potentially that could be in the running, including Florence Pugh, who was in Little Women. So she could be quite good because she's quite spicy, she's quite punchy, so she could be a good name. And Kanye West's new girlfriend, Julia Fox, is also in the running. They were together this week, her and Madonna, so maybe she could be...
Maybe the speculation is just to get us talking about
Definitely, but it will be interesting.
It will be a good...
get it
Yeah, it's funny because I'm not a sort of huge fan of Madonna now. I think I sort of think there should be a point when people retire.
Yes.
But when you look back on what she's done and how big she was at once,
she's interesting life.
She has, and the fact that she's still going, and the fact that she refuses to quit as well. Like, there's more of Madonna's story to come, and she's quite vocal about it. And I think it's good for both the new generation and us Madonna fans to see the life she's lived and how she has contributed to music.
She's certainly got a body that won't quit.
Plastic
Did you
surgery,
see that?
maybe.
Did you see that? There's a picture of her on Instagram with under the bed. Is it under the bed with her legs sticking? It's very odd.
Yeah,
I couldn't quite work that one out.
She is, but
that's what makes her interesting.
And she's confident. She's mad. She's the queen of pop, so she gets away with it.
Yeah. Is she the queen of pop? Or is that
She's
Kylie?
more like the...
Is she the princess
I
of
would say
pop?
Madonna's the queen. Let's give her that.
Come on, who hasn't? Can you Vogue?
Oh gosh. I think a little bit.
I mean, that's a video you've just got to watch.
Can you Vogue, Stephen?
No, I cannot Vogue.
Oh, I bet you can.
But I tell you what, I mean, that was so iconic. She has produced some iconic tracks and videos, which are quite remarkable. Kim Kardashian.
Oh,
what's going on?
Kim, if it's not about her with Pete Davidson, obviously who's her new boyfriend, following her divorce from Kanye West. Kanye West is never one to keep his mouth shut. And yesterday he made a video saying that he hadn't been invited to his 4-year-old daughter's birthday party. And he wanted to be the voice for American men, fathers all over America who've been excluded from such events. And he was like, I'm not playing into that narrative where I'm going to be shut up. I haven't been invited to my own daughter's birthday. But the rumour was that he was actually doing a separate birthday party for Chicago.
Yes,
so I think he was just getting his boxes in a twist in a bit and just making complaints. But the video did actually work, because then later on we're seeing pictures of him at the party. So it did work, but I just think Kim Kardashian feels a bit embarrassed, because obviously Kanye is always gonna publicise what's going on in their relationship.
Yeah, but it's all good for the brand, isn't it?
It is. And you know what, it'll probably be in a new reality show anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Kind of thing. It's all part of the narrative.
You do wonder. Now, me and Anne are geeks, and we want to go to a Comic-Con. I went to Heroes and Villains a couple of years ago. I met Stephen Amell from Arrow.
Was he dressed up as a character?
No, I wasn't at the time.
Although the next one he is going to be dressed up.
Are you going to be Batman?
Yeah, well, maybe. But I met Stephen Amell, who plays the Arrow, and I can't remember how much it was. It was about 80 quid or something to have a picture with him, which I thought was fine. It was a gift, actually, but it was fabulous. But 220 quid to meet
Jodie Whittaker, and
that's a lot of money.
Apparently some Doctor Who fans are willing to pay that price to get a picture, an autograph and a dog tag with her. And I think, you know, these kind of things, they set the price because they know the fans will pay.
Yeah, they wouldn't set it otherwise, would they?
Fans, and, you know, 220 is quite cheap compared to other people out there. Wayne Rooney this week said £450 just for a meet and greet with Wayne Rooney. Not sure who wants to see Wayne, but hey, each of their own.
Oh, football fans
And then
would.
also Dua Lipa, she's put a price at £1,842 just to have a pre-party with her.
Who would you pay a lot for? Oh, really?
Beyonce. I've been to every single concert Beyonce's had in this
done.
country. I'm like a big Beehive fan. So I would pay, name the price, I'll give a year's salary just to meet Beyonce.
A year? Are you, honestly?
I really would. That's how much I love Beyonce. I've been following her since I was about 14 or 15.
Oh, bless you.
I would pay to see Beyonce. How about you guys? Who would you pay to see?
That's really difficult.
That's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd pay to meet Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Because I just think the man is
He's
just
very
a
grumpy
legend.
when you meet him.
Yeah.
Very grumpy, and that'd be very rude.
Yeah.
Which would be great.
You get your money's worth then, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. Brian May, I'm a huge Queen fan.
Oh,
but
he's lovely.
I know Brian a little bit, so
lovely.
we've met a few times, and that is just such an honour to spend time with Brian May because of everything that he's
You can
done.
have a decent conversation with him, you see. He's a
clever
very
man.
clever guy.
But I don't think fans should be paying to meet their idols, because look, we follow them.
No, that's what I think. It's such a
We follow
shame.
them, we buy their albums,
Yeah.
we buy their merchandise. Obviously, in COVID times, it's a bit tricky of you getting up and close with people, but in general, you should not be paying
Well, I'll tell you
to
what,
see them.
if you're a celebrity, then you shouldn't be prissy about it. I remember a few years ago now, and I went and had, me and Eamon went and had lunch.
Yeah.
And as we were walking from one place to another, he got stopped by people in the street, and he was just so lovely and nice, had pictures taken, the whole shebang. And I remember stepping back and thinking, yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That's how you do it. You appreciate that these are the people who put you where you are.
And keep you where you are. Yeah.
And you know what? They're probably trying to make their pound now, because 30 years from now, who's going to be paying over £1,000 to see Dua Lipa, unless they're a die-hard fan? So
it's not the same,
they're raking in the money while they can.
Yeah, I'm not overly familiar with who she is, really. I know she's a singer.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Definitely not worth that price tag. I do like Dua, but not worth that price tag, I'm afraid.
Oh, Stephanie, it's a joy to see you. Thank you
Always
very
so
much
fun.
indeed.
Thank you.
Are you back next weekend with all the very latest showbiz?
I will be. I won't be anywhere else.
Love it. Thank you. Loads of you getting in touch this morning.
Yeah, we've been talking about so much during the whole programme today, and I mean, everything from Boris Johnson and should he or shouldn't he leave, and should we give him a break or whatever. George says, a lot of people are getting in touch saying it's the fact that everything's being slow leaked that they don't like. It's almost as though there's a sort of coordinated campaign. George says, wouldn't you have thought that security services would be looking at these leaks? Because if you're sneaky enough to leak to the media, who else are you leaking to and what are you leaking? That's quite a good point.
Well, it is a good point. Alison says, does anyone expect politicians to uphold any sort of moral standards? All these apologies are just pathetic. They're not sorry. They're just sorry they've been caught.
Simon says, Boris should not resign. No one would do a better job. That's, I suppose, a moot point, isn't it? If you ask Boris to resign, who do you put in his place?
Yeah, Chris says he's 100% backing Boris. I think you will find no rules have been broken. Well, we'll see what Sue Gray has to say about that.
Yes. Rose says, how do you know an MP is lying? They open their mouth.
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it? Because
there's some good MPs.
I think over the years there are some really good MPs we've met. Archie says, I'm happy to see England might end the coronavirus restrictions on the 26th. We don't know it for sure yet. Here in Scotland, they're thinking of extending the passports to pubs and bars. Utter madness, with cases going down. We have to live with this virus like we do with the flu.
Stephen says, as a floating voter, I see the SS Tory is sinking because of poor captaincy. The captain's answer? Sack the crew. Captain Boris is behaving true to type. The ship owners need to be decisive now to save the fleet.
Yeah.
I love the
it's
way
an interesting
you write
way of putting it, isn't it? Yeah.
Very clever.
Tom says, Boris has done a great job throughout. Maybe a minor slip now, but let's be honest, who else is any good?
Yeah, and on other stuff, and energy prices, I know we ran through these not so long ago.
Which I found quite frightening. We all talk about the fact that they're saying energy prices are going to go up. But when you see it in black and white, how much they've gone up.
When you're getting your renewals through, Susan is with Octopus. These are all about Octopus, but let us know if it applies to anything else. Octopus is my energy provider. My monthly payments have gone up from £80 a month to £154.
Yeah.
Paul's has gone up from £1,735 a year to £3,750. Karen has had a new tariff. She was paying just under £900 a year. The new tariff is £2,230.
And I know that, I mean, this is staggering, and I know that Eamon and Isabel are probably going to follow this through tomorrow. It's tomorrow Monday already. Isn't it? Tomorrow's Monday, yeah, that's right. Already. But yeah, so if you've got any more like that, maybe now is the time to go and check what your energy bill is going to look like. Doesn't just have to be Octopus. I'm sure it's probably any provider. I'm sure Eamon and Isabel would love to hear from you on that one, because it's something that's really pretty scary.
It is scary, but of course, with everything that's going on with that and with politics, stay tuned, because the political correction is coming up for you just a moment.
Bye.
OK, looking at the weather forecast then for you, and it's looking like a mixed picture. A band of rain slowly moving across the country, and in the details, southwest England seeing a few showers this morning, some sunny spells developing. It's going to be on the mild side, double figures for most. Southeast England seeing a bit of cloud. There could be the odd light shower, but most places staying dry. Temperatures around average with light winds. Cloud and rain continuing to move southwards across Wales, perhaps through Cardiff, remaining dry until we approach